Hailing frequencies are open, and welcome back to Clear Skies, our Star Trek Adventures live play here on QueueTimes. I'm here with the Stream Punks as always on Monday nights before we go to the stars. I didn't get a chance to ask y'all on pre-show. Is everyone doing okay? How y'all doing? Doing all right?
Doing all right, as can be.
Yeah.
Doing good.
In a world that's being crushed by a pandemic, we're doing okay, right? Yeah. Kind of hanging in there. No, not so much. Okay. So before we kick off tonight's game, let me just open the door real quick to ask if we have any announcements the Stream Punks would like to toss out there. Anything coming up? Yes, Xander. Oh my God, what would it have been like if Xander didn't raise his hand?
I'm sorry.
What if we didn't have a Library Bards announcement?
We could speculate, but it's not today. Tomorrow, I'm going to be doing an appearance on The Walking Dead's Twitch channel, doing their show. It's Character Collisions. So we're taking some characters from the Walking Dead universe and comparing them to other universes, and I'm doing Nintendo tomorrow. So that'll be at TWD Universe, twitch.tv/, and that'll be 3 p.m. Pacific.
And if you don't want to watch Walking Dead, you can tune in at the exact same time and watch me. I'll be doing a D&D one-shot from 3 to 5. Aki's in it as well. It's going to be amazing on the Roll20 Twitch channel. And it's going to be fantastic. And so, you know, zombies, D&D, you pick your bard. Who do you want to watch at 3 o'clock?
Pick your bard. Hashtag Team Barton, hashtag Team Xander. Go.
Exactly.
Let war begin.
This is why the good Lord invented dual monitor setups. Honestly.
I'm just gonna let y'all know I'll be playing bagpipes, so you might want to tune in.
Xander's like, I don't know that I can compete.
I can't compete with that.
They might be like metaphysical bagpipes.
Metaphysical Bagpipes is a great band name. Little wordy, but a good band name. All right. Yeah, Aki.
I aside from the really cool one shot that I will be doing with Bonnie tomorrow that I'm super stoked about, I am launching a pilot of a brand new tabletop role-playing game series with Indicate this upcoming Friday at 11 a.m. with my co-host Colin Kelly, who you might remember as This Might Be a Good Idea from Vast. He and I are going to be hosting this together. It should be a lot of fun. We're starting off with Visigoths versus Molgoths actual play. That's at 11 a.m. over on twitch.tv/Indicate. So definitely check it out. It's gonna be cool.
Wait. Anybody else? Anybody else got something they would like to say? Anybody else like the floor? Anybody just want to say anything? Nobody wants to say anything.
I'm gonna have more music on soon. I have ideas and things are gonna be released probably this week for Valentine's Day because I'm crazy and put like horrible deadlines to myself.
Okay.
Carry on.
But that's good. That's good. It wasn't.
Keep a look on my socials.
It wasn't I will have an announcement at some day, but I can't talk about it now. But I'll let you know.
Oh no.
I'll let you know.
I have those too.
6 years from now, if something changes.
I have those too.
Eric, you stop teasing my commander.
I
You do that right now.
I can't. I wish I could. I can't.
I feel like my future announcements are always implied now.
It's true.
Like Bonnie has something. Who knows?
You are in demand and important.
It's true. Anybody else got anything before we jump into tonight's game? Yes.
You said that if anyone wants the floor, I don't know if I want the floor. The floor is lava. Water is apparently also lava because ice is rock and water is molten rock, and it kind of broke my brain this week. So if you hadn't heard that yet, let it break yours too, because they technically fit the definitions, which is why technically correct is the most disconcerting kind of correct. But nonetheless, taxonomy is exciting, and so is this.
All right, we're gonna let Gina's brain recover from that, and as they were trying to process, she was trying to process that. Let's go ahead and jump into tonight's game of Clear Skies.
We're lava.
That was a very stressful period between trying to piece. Sam did their best to try to explain to us the very obvious logic of their statements. However,
obvious logic that we are the lava monsters.
Yeah. All right, let's go ahead and jump into our quick recap.
I'm so sorry. Humans are just monsters in general. Adding the fact that we're lava monsters to that just overcomplicates things.
Yeah.
It's because we
A
hot.
lot process. Yeah. Super hot.
I apologize, my camera is falling. So if you see a lot of fur hands.
It's chaos, the top of the game. Okay. It was a big episode for the crew of the USS Ross last episode. Some pretty big changes happening to the crew. You guys have been reassigned. Now, Azri, I'm sure you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like on some level, Captain Sol knew that this was a possibility one day, that this is probably going to happen. The Ross proving herself time and time again as a valuable asset of the Federation. Her successes essentially earned her an upgrade, which meant pulling her out of the span. Ross,
We were too good. It was a big mistake.
Essentially, yes.
We should never have been so successful and excellent.
Being that much of an asset to the Federation, they decided to put you where the Federation needs you most, which is in the Alpha Quadrant. 6 years after the end of the Dominion War, the galaxy is still very much in the process of reconstruction, even with the technologies of this modern age. Keep in mind, Cardassia Prime alone lost cities in what was essentially what would be the equivalent of complete nuclear annihilation on the part of the Dominion, as a counterattack to the uprising of the Cardassian civilian and military governments against the Dominion in the final days of the war. The Founder, as she is just simply known, ordered the Dominion military to launch an orbital assault that destroyed cities. All major cities on Cardassia Prime were destroyed, almost to rubble. Billions of Cardassians died in a single day as a result of this. And this is not even addressing the damages that happened across the Cardassian territories through the war itself. But the Cardassian homeworld became a gaping wound that after 6 years has still not healed. The trauma of that effect has been a ripple effect across the Cardassian Empire. Although, is the Cardassian government an empire anymore? It's hard to say, because right now there's the Cardassian government is in a huge state of flux right now. With civilians now in control and leading the reconstruction efforts, the Cardassian territory is in the process of putting itself back together. However, the major powers of the Alpha Quadrant have all agreed that it is imperative that the Cardassian people be allowed to keep their sovereignty and to build their own futures, and we should support them to do so. This not only promotes this will not only promote well-being in the Alpha Quadrant, but stability, and prevents an entire government that spans a good swath of space from collapsing into pure chaos, which would have affected every government that it bordered, mostly the Federation. But Romulans, Klingons, Federation, everyone agreed. The Alliance agreed that it was imperative that Cardassians be allowed their own future, now that the military government has been dismantled. This is a snapshot of what has been going on for the past half decade in the Alpha Quadrant. The Ross has just become too valuable, and on the recommendation of your ally, Admiral April Hebert, not only was the USS Ross reassigned to the Alpha Quadrant, but she has been given the classification as a flagship of the United Federation of Planets. Y'all are the diplomatic arm of the diplomatic corps of Starfleet now. That does not mean that that's all you're doing. The Ross will still be expected to engage in scientific research and exploration missions, rescue missions, and even defense missions if necessary. But when there's a diplomatic crisis at hand, the Ross is who they call. Y'all are the ones that are rushing to the forefront to try to get people to put their guns down and talk. It's been a 2-month journey from the Shackleton Expanse across the great expanse of Klingon territory, all the way back to Earth's space dock. For the past 2 months, the USS Ross has been traveling at high warp, making the occasional stop here and there to pick up either supplies or do a very small crew transfer, for some people who are doing cross transfers in the Klingon territories. Also, doing the Klingon government a favor, picking up some dignitaries and taking them where they need to go since you are passing through the territory. All in all, though, it has been a straight shot all the way through Klingon space. I will give you guys a fun little update, though. Without being too invasive, you did receive an update that a particular colony that the USS Ross first encountered on their way out to the Shackleton Expanse almost 11 months ago is doing quite well for itself. It's still under quarantine, but the people living there apparently are healthy and prospering and are doing so in solitude and thriving on their own. It is kept very vague. The Klingon government does not officially have any statements for the Ross. You can only imagine politically what that colony might mean for Martok if it becomes bigger and better known. The implications of a Borg colony in Klingon space could be a big headache for the former Klingon High Chancellor. So the Ross is given a very low-key tip of the hat. Hey, we're doing all right. Thanks so much. Kind of like update as y'all travel through space. We begin tonight's game as y'all are entering Sector 001. Home sweet home. At high warp right now, you are approximately 10 minutes out from the Sol system. It's a bit of a somber moment because as you are passing through the different systems, you are seeing coming up on the star charts on your holo display at your command console, Captain Sol, familiar sectors of space. You've passed Vulcan, you've passed the Andorian homeworld, you're seeing like all of the familiar sites that you all left. You see the monument that's been left at Wolf 359. You're seeing all of the markers here in the Alpha Quadrant that you haven't seen for quite some time. And then, almost like answering your thoughts, you hear Vren swivel in his chair and look over his shoulder and say to you, Captain, we'll be arriving at Earth Space Dock in approximately 10 minutes.
Excellent. Alert the crew and get the disembark schedule ready. Let's sing now. I think a lot of people are going to be going through the transporters today. Do you have any plans, Ambassador? Going over to Japan, perhaps?
Perhaps. I haven't visited my alma mater in some time, but the hope was actually to see my parents. Actually, if it's all right with you, I'd like to invite them aboard for a tour.
Oh, wonderful! Yes, absolutely. You should have them, and you should absolutely use all of the pomp of the diplomatic suites aboard the Ross, please. Impress them. I had no idea they were in Sector 001. Good gracious, why didn't you tell me?
Well, last I heard they were. I've sent them a few messages letting them know I'm on my way. I haven't actually had the chance to talk with them, but the hope is that they'll be waiting for me when we get there. And if they're not, then
the diplomatic office to confirm that they're on planet.
You're asking Shanto?
Yes.
Shanto looks down at the data pad and says, I have the ambassador's itinerary right here. They're going to be actually waiting for the Ross's arrival at Starbase One.
Then it's confirmed.
I'm going to pretend that you didn't tell me that, because if they didn't answer me specifically, they did not want me to know.
Know what?
Thank you, Captain. But yes, I really do hope I get to see my parents. I will not lie, I have missed them and I would really like a hug.
That sounds wonderful. Commander? You?
Well, I suppose I shall be lavishing some old friends with some very wild stories.
I'm going to a hockey game. You hear Vren immediately state as he swivels around. The Klingon team is playing the Andorian team tonight in San Francisco. It is the aligning of the fates. I'm going to a hockey game, sir. Unless you tell me no, sir.
Only if you refused to get tickets for your best friend, who is sitting up very upright in her chair at this particular moment.
Vren looks over at you and goes, did you want to go to the hockey game? I didn't even think to ask you. I didn't think that would be something you liked.
What's hockey?
Yeah, you need to come with me to the hockey game.
I mean, Andorians versus Klingon, it feels like it's right up my alley, quite honestly.
It's just a fight. It's a 2-hour fight.
Oh, that's amazing. Yes.
Like there's 40 minutes of hockey and everything else is just beating the crap out of each other.
You keep saying the word hockey like you think I know what it means.
It's going to be amazing. You're going to love it.
Say the word fight instead. I'm ready.
I'm not even going to explain it. I'm just going to watch your face as you watch. It's going to
Perfect. I cannot wait. I have to return a few things that accidentally slipped into my luggage, but that should be real quick. Hockey. I'm so ready.
Prawl immediately, under his breath at the tactical station, says, the last thing that slipped into your luggage turned out to be an alien artifact that nearly conquered the entire vessel.
Did you hear something, Bren?
He's got rank on me. I can't do this joke. I'm sorry.
Oh, Prawl, do you want to come to a hockey game?
No, I'm good. Thank you. Hockey makes me uncomfortable.
Okay, Jane swivels to face him.
Yeah, Vren doesn't know how to take that. Vren just kind of says, yeah, okay. I guess I could see that.
Commander, could I ask you to please unpack that statement for me?
I don't like watching fights because it makes me want to fight.
I mean, isn't that part of fun?
It's part of the fun being a fighter.
Yeah, I guess.
You see the smile on his face, and Vren raises his hand and says, listen, hockey is not all fighting. It just fighting happens sometimes. It just so happens.
It's all fighting. That's why I'm going.
Yeah, I'm just saying, my people in Klingons really like to fight. And when you put them on ice skates and there's a puck being knocked around, you hear a chirping.
There's a whole position dedicated to enforcing via violence.
This sounds
that
amazing.
Other players should be playing the game, and you assert that there's no fighting. Do not mislead our young lieutenant.
This sounds amazing.
Mr. Vren.
Commander Paul, I think
facing front. Vren swivels back to the front, just going, I am so losing whatever the hell fight is happening right now.
I think that we should take Prawl with us. I don't think that I think he's gonna do his brooding thing if we don't make him.
I'll go with you. You hear Prawl suddenly say, rather contradictory.
That settles it. Perfect. A hockey game. 2 hours of fighting. This is gonna be amazing.
Shanto is in the back of the bridge listening to this banter. She's holding the data pad up to her chest right now, and she's not really looking at anybody while this is happening. She's just kind of eyes down, but you see this sort of amused look on her face. Like this whole banter has just kind of lifted her spirits a little bit. Because the bridge crew right now is talking with excitement. This is all translating to, after 11 months of being away, we're excited to be home again. And it's almost to answer the story beat when you hear the chirping sound go off and say, Captain, now arriving at Starbase One. And you see on the main view screen, just as you exit warp and enter into full impulse, you see Jupiter fall right past the view screen. Just Starbase One on approach. And you hear hailing frequency open. Starbase One, this is the USS Ross. And you hear Starbase One, crystal clear coming through. We read you, USS Ross. And Vren says, approach control, this is the USS Ross, ready for docking maneuver. Ross is cleared to dock. And you see Vren play his fingers across the console and this blue light flashes. And he says, systems are locked in on approach, space dock, you have control. And you hear that crystal clear voice again up on the view screen as you guys see this huge column that is Starbase One, the grand home base of Starfleet Command here, just over that beautiful crystal blue horizon of the planet Earth. The moon is in the background. You can see the 1,000 fireflies of city lights all across the surface of the moon. And of course, the sunset off in the distance as y'all are beginning to approach the starbase. You hear Starbase say, "Affirmative, USS Ross. Enjoy the ride and welcome home." And with that, you get indications all across your consoles that Starbase Control now has control of the Ross, and y'all are being guided in to the Starbase. To give you an idea of the size, of course, of Starbase One, is these great doors, which have been modified over time to accommodate the increasing size of Starfleet vessels. These doors just, they slide open, and the Ross begins to drift into Starbase One's inner docking ring. Upon entry into the docking ring, you can see all manner of starships docked inside here. Mostly starships that are in for overhauls or are on just like on a quick stay before they're either moving on to their next assignments or they're doing duty transfers or docked in here. And you're seeing all kinds of starships that are moving through here. Mostly looks like science vessels right now, from what you can tell. The Ross, as she pulls into space dock and approaches the docking ring 4C, you get the indications going across the green light board as the Ross comes to a halt. And you hear Vryn say, "Activating all moorings and stand by." And you hear the chirping of confirmation, and Vryn claps his hands together and says, "We've docked, Captain. Powering down main."
You heard the man. I'm now free to move about the cabin. Exio, could you help me with some of the quick sign-offs before we get out of here? I check my head toward the ready room.
Blip.
Shanta says, "Sir, if it's all right with you, I need to go speak to Chief Tech before we disembark. A friend of his has been blowing up communications and trying to get a hold of him. He's tried every single avenue, and I'm pretty sure Tech has received at least 10 of his messages."
Anything we need to screen? And I almost subconsciously flick my eyes to Prawl.
Prawl also flicks his eyes to Shanto, and Shanto goes, "Oh, no, sir. It's Dr. Maroney, sir."
I'll meet you, dirt side.
Captain.
Tech.
And as the captain exits into their ready room with Commander Exio in tow, you see Prawl tap a few buttons on the console, and the console goes half dark, and he goes, "Oh, wow. Wow. It's just you don't see the console dark very often, because we're always flying." Symbolic. I like it. How do you feel? You feeling good? You feeling good? I'm talking to you. Yes, you. My best friend sits across from me.
You said Prawl. I think you meant Bren.
I said Prawl?
And I was like, what is happening right now?
No, I meant Vryn. Sorry.
Vryn got a new best friend. That's what's up.
Every now and then, a confused GM will warp reality, and you'll just see Prawl coming out of Vryn and Vryn coming out of Prawl.
That was Paul. I was like,
put it down, Sam. Put it down.
What is the special button we found for Prawl turning off the... I was really excited. I thought we were seeing a different side of Prawl for the first time in 11 months.
It was the life forms data moment. Life forms. No, but Vryn turns and looks at you and says, "All right, I'm going to go get my stuff packed up. I'll let you know when that hockey game is happening."
Okay, great. Can we also get an extra ticket for Asmi?
Yeah. Oh, it shouldn't be a problem. Yeah. Anybody else want to go to the hockey game?
This is a general invite. I don't do these often, but seeing as Ren has volunteered us, I guess I'm doing this now.
Anybody else?
I'm not interested in hockey, but I was wondering if you wanted to come and be surprised by my parents before you head to your game.
Oh yeah,
Jane. Do you want to? And then Olin stands from their chair and moves a little bit closer to Jane and kind of leans in and says, "You can bring Asmi if you want to."
I think that she would be delighted by the offer, but I am a little selfish and want your parents to myself right now.
You have to fight me for them.
I will, but I think you might also have to fight Ren because I think he thinks he's coming along too.
I mean, Ren can go wherever he likes. I don't mind. I have a feeling that the moment he meets my parents, he'll be immediately overwhelmed. So
that is very true. Yeah, I never. I have to do one thing real quick, but then I'm more than happy to meet your parents.
All right, I'll let you know when I'm on my way over.
Perfect.
And Olin is going to exit and head to their office to kind of start straightening things out, making it look nice. You know, the panicked rush of cleaning things up before, your parents have to see your bedroom kind of thing. Yeah.
All right. In the ready room.
I tap the ring onto the table with that weird little click that rings make when you put them down. Mm-hmm. We haven't actually talked about any kind of plan. Are you going to see her? Do you need backup?
The answer is probably yes, and probably yes. At least in the emotional sense. I do plan on confronting her, but I would like to also find some joy before that. Not in the hockey game sense, though. Maybe an opera or something.
In the middle of the park is the San Francisco Lyric Opera Theater. It's a tiny little thing.
That sounds
but it
nice.
gets good sound. It doesn't get swallowed up by a big hall.
I think tiny and loud sounds is perfect.
I'll check with Shanta, see if there's something on.
Thank you.
Of course. How are you doing?
I think Lieutenant Lucat has rubbed off on me, and I'm betting the odds of when I confront Dr. Redgraves whether or not a time kid is going to show up and kerfluff everything. It's been a while.
She's definitely rubbing off on you if you're using technical terms like kerfluff. I barely follow you with this kind of technical language, honestly.
We're off duty almost. I'm allowed to start using colorful language.
Until then, keep saturation to a minimum.
Can do.
Let's go.
Are you excited to be home, Captain?
And having walked to the door, paused. I'm a captain. I have a lot of business to take care of.
Remember, colorful language is allowed.
I'm very happy to see people like the Ambassador and Lieutenant Lucat visiting their families while they're back here. Shall we?
Okay. Down in main engineering. The engineering crew is currently going through final checks as the warp core is being powered down. That great column of humming blue, the beating heart of the ship. One of two. Oh my god, it just occurred to me. The Ross is a Time Lord.
Oop, you said it.
That column of blue that's pulsing at the center of the Ross. You see Dari is across from you and saying, safety protocols are in place. Antimatter disbursement chamber is at full capacity. We are ready to shut down the core.
Execute shutdown procedures.
you see that glowing ambient blue suddenly turn to that shade of dark as the core goes to sleep. Secondary core,
Smooth
you
answer.
have confirmation on deactivation, and you hear secondary warp core in the saucer section say, "Copy that, Chief Tech. Secondary core coming offline now." And you see all the reds turn green as it confirms secondary warp core is now offline.
This is Chief Tech Lenatus. The USS Ross is fully docked and the warp engines are offline. Thank you very much for your hard work, everybody. That was the smoothest docking yet.
That gets a cheer from the entire engineering compartment. Everyone who's pleased to be back at Starfleet, everyone's pleased to be home, but there's also like the energy that you just pumped into the engineering compartment as everyone's cheering as the Ross gets to sleep a little bit. Dari looks at you, and you see a rare smile on Dari's face as she logs out of her duty station and sits back, just as the turbolift doors open and Shanto steps out. The yeoman approaches you, moves past a few people that are like giving each other high fives and hugging it out. Slipping through some of the aux crew, she moves over to you and says, "Sir, I'm sorry, Chief Tech. I have a message from you. I think you've probably been getting a lot of these."
Oh, you're here to celebrate.
Hands it to you.
Oh, okay.
It is indeed like the 6th message you've gotten from Debulch Maroney, one of the chief designers of the USS Ross. Requesting a bit of your time. Something about upgrades that are being done to the Ross while she's sleeping.
I have a feeling, and this is directly to Asmi, that Dr. Maroney might not be a fan of some of the requests that we have been put in as upgrades for the Ross. So if you could diplomatically or legally just let them know that it is my job and not his, so he could back up and back off. It's Tellarite.
Okay. I'm not sure what you're asking me, sir.
Also, I'm free at 0800 tomorrow.
I'll let him know.
Yeah.
Types that into the data pad.
But make sure that first part gets in there. It's important.
To back off. Yes, sir.
And yeah.
And that you're available at 0800 tomorrow.
Right. And I'm in charge.
Okay. I'll make sure he gets that. Thank you, sir.
My pleasure.
And with that, she nods to Dari and heads to the turbolift. McCrell, your medical staff, same thing. The bio beds are being powered down. Sick bay is going into standby right now. All of the sick bays on board the Ross are reporting into standby. You're in main sick bay right now, but across the decks, the Ross is essentially sick bay 2 and 3 on decks 20 and 31 all report that they're going into standby mode.
Excellent.
One of your nurses approaches and hands you a stack of data pads, and you were just getting all of this paperwork that has been piled up. It's all just procedural stuff, turning in like medical records to Starfleet, letting people know what babies were born while you were out in space, who had a sprained ankle, like what
so
is the
many
general health of the
babies,
crew, that kind of thing.
You get a baby. You get the baby. You get the baby.
The doors to sickbay open up as Prawl steps in and walks around a few of the medical personnel as he approaches and leans into your office. Doesn't step all the way in, but you see the Trill lean into the doorway and say, "Hey, Doc, do you have any free time later tonight? Because there seems to be some kind of excursion taking place involving a sport here on Earth."
Is it hockey?
Yeah, you know about that?
Yes.
I tried to pretend like I knew what they were talking about. I've never seen a hockey game in my life, and I was wondering if you wanted to join us, because it seems like Lacat doesn't know what it is either.
I've only seen it once, but it was glorious. I would love to go, yes. I don't understand the game, but there was a lot of back and forth with a little thing that would go very fast.
Yeah,
and,
I got that too. I don't know why.
And fighting.
But it has something to do with ice, and you know how Andorians are with their ice.
Yes.
So I'll make sure that Vren transmits the information to you.
I'll make sure to dress warm. That was a joke.
He just doesn't say anything to that. He just steps out of sickbay.
One day he will laugh at my joke.
Hey, you got kind of a snicker from him just then.
Yeah, it was either a snicker or a sneeze. I should probably give him a test.
And Ambassador, what do you go back to your So I mean, the thing about you, Ambassador, is Olin, if I remember correctly, you're pretty meticulous about keeping your workspace presentable in case you have to have a delegation immediately transport into your office. So you're kind of deflated to find that, I have to organize. And when you step into your office on the promenade deck, you look around and see this spotless, well-organized office and realize, shit.
So I am actually going to infuse a little bit of myself into Olin here in this moment, in that their workspace is always impeccably clean. Like, they keep their workspace pristine. So as they walk into their workspace and remember, oh yeah, I actually always do a good job of keeping this space clean. What else can I attempt to clean for my parents? And then they think of their quarters and then go, oh no. Turn around and start not booking it, because, Ambassador, I never run. I walk briskly. They start walking briskly back to their quarters because, there might be some issues there that need to be taken care of. They're an emotional creature. Yeah.
All right.
They're good at compartmentalizing. Like, this is my workspace. I keep this clean. This is not my workspace. I don't care.
Yeah. So, yeah, exactly. No one's professionally seeing my bedroom. Damn it! I don't have to worry about this right now.
But my parents are going to be here.
Coming over. They're going to want to see everything. All right. Unless there's anything else, we can skip ahead to the scene where people are transporting onto Starbase One. As y'all are arriving at Starbase One, there is no formal, welcoming committee. No admiral here to meet you. This is the busiest starbase in all of Starfleet. There are many starships that are arriving from being months and months away from home, much like the USS Ross. So what you find is you are in a giant echo chamber of Starfleet personnel that are constantly arriving and departing. People having long conversations, people rushing to get to their meeting spots before they're transported to wherever they need to go, shuttles arriving and departing. Think of it as a Star Trek airport, but essentially a giant city in space designed for it. It is also the hub of Starfleet communications and defense here in Sector 001. So arriving at Starbase One, for those of you who had that experience, this is very familiar because in so many ways, it reminds you of what it was like when you were cadets and you first stepped onto the decks of Starbase One. It hasn't changed at all. Some of the decor, of course, and more holographic technology has been implemented here at Starbase One significantly, as has some of the automated help that's been activated around here. And the diversity of species that are coming through Starbase One has increased. But the sounds, the urgency, the energy, the views, the starships outside the window, the sunrises and sets, the view of Luna, everything is absolutely epically magical as you remember it the very first time you stepped foot on this starbase, right when you became a fresh, young Starfleet officer. It's home. And there's an energy coursing through here. Some of it's energy of people who are getting ready to depart out into the stars, and some of it are people who are coming back home for the first time, like you, in almost a year of being out amongst the stars. Either way, this place is the great crossroads of the United Federation of Planets, and the energy through the concourse as y'all are arriving is electric. People are nodding, and as they're making their way, as they're making their way past you, if they have to squeeze past, it's been a while since you have all been amongst this many Starfleet personnel that kind of have the same energy that the Ross kind of has every day, except for this is home base. The main promenade of Starbase One is too large to be a single room. This is a city in space. So y'all are in multiple gated promenade areas as you exit the main concourse from Transporter Pad 7. Docking Bay 4, which is where the Ross is currently docked, is on the other side of the promenade. This is how things are being organized today. So as y'all beam onto Concourse 7, you are at the side of the space station that is facing out towards Luna, and it's a beautiful sight. You now have free reign. You don't technically have to report to Starfleet Command until tomorrow to get the updates on the upgrades to the Ross that you have sent in for the request. You're also Captain Sol and Exio, just to give the command staff an idea of what y'all are having to put up with. Tomorrow there is a meeting dictating, like, basically answering the request that you put in, Captain, about some of the upgrades to the Ross. On your data pad that has been supplied to you both by Shanto, the yeoman has put there that Dr. DeBulch has also requested to be available at that meeting. And so you can look forward to DeBulch is, I'm sorry, his name, I keep mispronouncing it, but just so I get this right once and for all, it's DeBluch. DeBluch. It's DeBluch Maroney. It sounds it's got to sound more ridiculous or it doesn't work. It's DeBluch. That's my that's my thank you to Thomas, who designed the USS Rossaurus. You are DeBluch Maroney in Star Trek. As of right now, though, both Ox crew, command crew, and senior staff all have free reign until 0800 tomorrow morning. Welcome home.
Enjoy the hockey game, Asmi.
What's that?
I said enjoy the hockey game, Asmi.
Yeah, Asmi Shanto goes, yeah, hockey. I'm actually not that familiar with Earth sports, but this one seems to have really caught on. So I'm really curious about this. At about that point, as she is saying that, over her shoulder, Exio, you can see one of the Federation's most meritorious ambassadors approaching. This is Ambassador Daro Majanil, accompanied by his wife, and they are both looking quite statesmanly. You can see the similarities automatically. The refinement, the way they carry themselves. He is clearly a man of stature and of nobility as he is making his way through the concourse. It's already kind of defaulted that when Deltans move, people tend to see it. Think of it like, for those of you who may not be familiar, Deltans tend to be very striking. Members of the Deltan race are very striking. People tend to notice them when they're in the room. Think of it like a pair of Toreadors entering with awe, with presence 1 constantly going. It's kind of the same effect. These two entering into the main concourse are getting some looks, but you kind of are like, yeah. Those are definitely Majanils right there.
I've done quite extensive research on Daro at the time. So I know quite a lot about his career and his accomplishments and his classifieds.
Yeah, Daro has a storied career. He even spent a good portion of his youth studying under Ambassador Sarek, who is one of the legendary ambassadors of the Federation. And for those who don't know, father to one Commander Spock.
His presence matches his very impressive resume of life.
He is approaching, and his eyes are searching the crowd. His impressive height, as he's kind of looking over the heads of some of the other people that are passing through the concords. But you see the restraint on his face as he's trying to maintain sort of an air of dignity. Is not entirely capable of doing so, as his face kind of lights up at the sight of Olin as you're all stepping onto the concourse. There's that brief, you can detect it, Exio, being somebody who can read body language so expertly well. There's that slight flutter of the eyelids that raises just a centimeter too quick to just be not surprise and happiness. That slight raise of the brow, even though he has no eyebrows, he just kind of, like, the expression on his face changes a little bit as he spots Olin and begins to approach.
So, you know that moment when you haven't seen your parents in a while, and it's almost like you revert. Like there's this moment of reversion that happens. Olin sees their parents. There's this look that passes over their face, and like they don't even hesitate to race towards their parents, throw themselves at their father, and immediately begin weeping.
Okay. This emotional release as you throw your arms around your father. There is a brief second of an attempt to remain sort of like noble and dignified as this happens. But you see Olin's father press that smile against the side of his face as he lowers his head and puts his arms around his child. And you see a family reunited after a year in space, after almost a year in space. And you hear Vren just go, man, that entire family has just got style, don't they? It's like all of them. They just got style. It's not me, right? I can see it. I mean,
no, it's actually unnatural. I don't know what's happening. It's unfair, really.
Oh.
Yeah.
And then over the crowd you hear, Jane, get over here.
And you see Brent look at you, Jane, go like, have you ever heard them talk like that? And kind of gives you this look. And Shanto gently nudges you forward.
Great. Yeah, Jane, I wouldn't say she's not hesitant at all. I think that like Darrow and remind me your mother's name as well? Or you're just Darrow's the only one here?
No, Darrow and Mom are here, but I will admit I need to
I can answer this.
Thank you.
Amazing.
It's been a while since I've had the chance to call my mother by her name.
So funny story. When we first created the background for Olin.
Oh right. I had to change her name.
For Olin, Aki, without having any knowledge of this, named their mother Sela.
Well, this is the thing. I'd completely forgotten that Sela was a thing.
Right, exactly. So when I brought that up, it was like
Solar? It's Solar. It's
Solar.
Solar.
We renamed mother Solar. So Solar.
Yeah, Jane is Jane's not hesitant at all. Like Darrow and Solar have always like treated her like their own kid, and like she is so thankful for that. So if anything, it's more. It's the, I mean, actually, I don't know. Like I was adopted for a part of my life, right? And like, so the way that I treated like my adoptive parents was very like, I knew that they like saw me as a child, but I was still like kind of restrained. And I was like, I want to be on my best behavior for you. And I think that like Jane is similar in that way. And so like she's gonna be like so excited to see them, but I think that she's still gonna like have a level of like professionalism. So it's like, Darrow, it's so good to see you.
Darrow's eyes light up when he spots you, Jane, and he squeezes your shoulders for a second, Olin, and glances down at you and says, "Jane the cat, you look well. You look very well, Olin."
I mean, 11 months in space. I'm sure Olin has filled you in on all the details. It's only made me look younger.
I'm pleased to see that you've kept my ambassador safe while they travel the stars.
I mean, your ambassador helped me through a few rough spots as well. But I'm very excited for the tour of the Ross that we're going to get today, especially of their dorm. Which I'm sure is in pristine condition.
Here comes the bus. Here's the cat. There goes Olin under the bus. Bus now is going over.
As you can see, Papa, not much has changed.
Yes, but I need to actually go to San Francisco before the tour, so I might be joining a little late.
Of course.
That's all right. I think that the first thing that should be done is, would you like to meet the command staff?
I would find that very agreeable, yes. I've been
hello,
wanting to
Mama.
meet Captain Sol for some time now.
And you, Mama, are you interested?
She glances at your father for a moment and says, "Is it true your commanding officer is a hologram?"
I've kind of forgotten that she is, to be perfectly honest.
I would love to meet her if that's possible.
She loves to meet people. If there's anything that she enjoys more, I'm not entirely sure what it is, aside from sitting on the outside of our ship.
That is a story I would like to hear.
I'm sure she has plenty. But yes, if you'd like to meet the staff, they're all over there. It's really good to see you and feel you. And almost suddenly realizing that they there's that moment of code switching that happens and they stop talking out loud.
Okay. This warm smile on your father's face as he looks down on you, and you can feel that warmth. Your mother is looking around now, trying to see if she can identify the hologram in the room, like she could somehow spot something that might be a little different than everybody else. But it's with this sort of childlike, playful curiosity of she's looking back around the corners.
And telepathically, because they can, with their parents, they say, "You'll never guess," to their mother. But I'll give you a hint. The most exuberant person in the room is my commander.
She smiles at you, and
you'll be able to feel her, which is the even more amazing thing. Once upon a time, she would have been very easy to pick out in a crowd. You can't do that anymore.
Your mother seems quite mystified by this, and she looks up at your father and then back to you and says, you can hear her voice in your mind say, "Do you mean to say that she's emotional? And that I could sense her emotions?"
That's 100% what I mean. And I was there the very first time that happened.
She glances up at your father again, and your father nods like he's slowly realizing this himself and hearing it for the first time. And you see he looks at you and says, "We should also discuss some of the conversations that have been happening in the diplomatic corps since you've been gone."
Oh, did you have to turn it into a work thing, Papa?
Your mother immediately says, "I've made him promise that it would not be. And besides, this is your father's final week in the corps."
Of course. Then I think we must absolutely talk about that. But in the meantime, come on, staff. Let's meet the folks, shall we?
It's interesting, Lacat, because only half of that conversation was actually audible to you. You just saw them staring at each other, nodding, and having. You're like, yes, you've seen the Majanils do this before.
This is.
And so
she patiently waits through it. She doesn't mind.
So Olin's mother immediately seizes you by the arm and gently pulls you to her side and says, "I want to hear about your journeys in the Shackleton Expanse. Tell me everything. I understand that you discovered an entirely new species of, what was it? Plant life on some alien planet with plants?"
She's also got a girlfriend.
Oh, there's that bus coming back for Jane.
You hear that beep, beep, beep as the bus just over you.
100% siblings.
Yeah. I would love to tell you all about my discoveries in the Shackleton Expanse, and she is glaring at Olin at this moment. But I think I should really leave you to the tour of that room.
Oh man. At that point, Olin's father speaks up as you're approaching the command staff, speaks up and says, "As empaths, we are both aware of the war the two of you are waging right now."
Great, then you'll know that I'm winning.
I'm pleased to see the Shackleton has not changed you.
It hasn't. And It really hasn't. If anything, we've discovered not just one species, but so many species. And your tour is going to start without me because, like I said, I'll be late. But please let me show you the biolabs at some point.
I will.
All right.
I will not go anywhere near the science section of the ship. That's all yours.
Perfect.
That is about the point with command staff where y'all are getting ready to break apart into your respective like destinations, Macrel and Tech and Exio and Sol. When you see approaching is Olin with Lacat and what appears to be Olin's parents. Now, a quick reminder, Olin's father, Daro, is a famous ambassador of the United Federation of Planets. He is something of a celebrity within Starfleet, low-key celebrity. So as he is approaching, Vryn goes, "Oh shit!" He just kind of mutters that off to the side.
Be cool. Be cool.
Cool. And they approach. They step forward.
If
Captain,
you can't take the heat, Lieutenant. Yes, Ambassador.
If you would,
Ambassador.
and also Ambassador, allow me to introduce my parents, Ambassador Dara Majanil and Ambassador Solar Majanil.
Captain, he extends his hand to you. It's a firm, pleasant grip as he looks you in the eye and says, "It is a genuine privilege to meet you."
I'm very happy to meet the people who produced such a fine person. Olin has been such a service for our ship. We're ever so thankful for them.
Perhaps you have a future in the diplomatic corps, Captain.
Oh, please don't threaten me upon first meeting. This is my commander, Exia.
Commander Exio.
Pleasure.
My
Hello.
wife has so been looking forward to meeting you.
So those were the looks. Hello.
She looks wide-eyed again at you, Olin, and back to you, Exio, and says, "Hello. It's such a treat to meet you." And she extends her hand.
I already had it extended. Usually when someone's been looking for me, a good old handshake is in order.
Deltans, because of the unfortunate attention that they attract from other species, tend to be very reserved in public. Deltans, by default, tend to carry themselves very similar to how Vulcans carry themselves. It's only when they're around other Deltans or around family when they kind of let the guard down and be who they are. It's saying quite a bit to you, Exio, that Olin's mother is just brimming with enthusiasm as she shakes your hand. She says,
The pheromones are probably off the charts to anyone who can perceive them.
Yes, the dopamine is hitting pretty hard, and she is like really. The excitement is palpable as she shakes your hand, particularly because you can sense it too, Olin. She's realizing that she is sensing the enthusiasm from Exio, and she's shaking her head. She's like, "You are magnificent, aren't you? Forgive me. I am so sorry. That was such a rude thing to just come out and say. It is a pleasure to meet you."
There's nothing wrong with saying what is absolutely true about our Exio, Mama. She is magnificent.
Thank you.
As this meeting moves forward, what is everyone else doing?
Yeah, Olin's just introducing everybody to their parents. They're just very excited that their mom and dad are here.
I'm just going to quickly say to them, I am pleased to say that our ambassador stays out of trouble and is very rarely in the sick bay. Thinking that they would appreciate that, but obviously Macrel doesn't know what to say.
Vryn pipes up and goes, "And they were great when they became a column of light and helped us all get pulled out of a dream."
Okay, we
Yes, they were in the sick bay after that, as I'm being pulled away.
Oh
Yes,
no.
but Vryn chimes in, making it worse, and says, "Yes, but they were cured very quickly." Because...
Yes, and only because I had to give them let's go get ready for that hockey game.
Yeah, Red, we should go for the hockey game. I need to go down to San Francisco as well. Do you want to travel together?
Oh man! And with that, he turns.
Great.
And then I'm just gonna really quickly, very rarely in the sick bay. Very rarely.
So Vryn stomps off, and Shanto just says, "It was really lovely to meet all of you," and slips away, chasing after Jane before she even gets really much of a chance to say hello to everybody.
And I'll just be like, Chief, are you hungry?
Actually, I wanted to talk to the commander, and he'll go over to Exio.
Okay, so we'll
Because
say
you're going
that
to the hockey game, right?
Yeah. We'll say that we're in
Wait.
we're sort of that. I keep wanting to use Comic-Con as an example, but we're in that period where like friends have met up in the middle of a crowd,
Yeah.
and now like,
Panel are you going to? I'm going to go on the floor for 5 hours. I'm going to go sit in line in Hall H.
yeah. Now we're at that phase where friends who have crossed paths and formed into a single group are now breaking away into other groups and vowing to check in with each other later as they go off on their thing. So you managed to pull Exio.
I have a panel.
Yeah.
A panel, yeah. All right, so you pull Exio aside, Chief.
Commander, if you've got a minute or two, I've been working on some of your food memory engrams, and I have one that I wanted you to try out.
I would love to. Do you have a specific food that you've attached it to? Because I'm going to the opera tonight, and I don't actually know if they serve food there.
Oh, well, this one, it might be a little bit different, and Tech is going to look around for one of the holographic generators that they've installed.
There are plenty. Yes.
And he's going to go over and input one of his programs, and you can see as he holds out his hand, it manifests as like it looks like the consistency of a marshmallow, but it's like lime green and shaped like a mushroom. And it's about this big, and it just sits in his hand. And he says, I was tinkering around with some of the specific memory engrams. I wanted to see if this would work. And he hands it to you.
What's different about this one, Chief?
Well, it's sort of interdimensional.
And so cute.
I improvised.
One go, or is this a nibble situation?
Oh, well, it'll activate one of your memories, so however you like to enjoy. And as you take a bite, you can see that it's actually accessing the memory engram of when we were in the mycelial network. This is going back to like these doorways between dimensions in this trippy field that it just seems like the possibilities are endless.
You made Jenny cake.
Right. I made
Quite-
Jenny cake.
Quite through the looking glass, Chief Tech.
Ginny shrooms.
Here's the thing. I've been a little bit obsessed over this. The existence of the mycelial network and us being able to travel there. Everything that happened.
Chief, maybe a little quieter. We're quite in public.
Right. Well, anyway, all of that to say, the possibility of doorways to other dimensions. It's something that's possible. I've seen it.
Yes, and also highly restricted.
If we could study it a little further, who knows what doors we could open? Literally.
Yes, but remember, sometimes doors swing both ways, as we have learned, Chief. When you let everyone know where a door is, everyone's going to want to walk through it.
But who are we to say no? Just some thought. Just some food for thought.
I understand. It is a complicated subject, but I will remind you that the person living there, the beings that inhabit that space, did not want visitors.
Yes, I understand that. I can't help but draw the comparisons between our experience there and what was happening within the amulet. It's all connected somehow, these other dimensions. There were existences of people. They had feelings and thoughts that didn't belong to them when they were alive, and they existed in this space. Maybe we could... I'm just saying there are a lot of possibilities.
Indeed. I do encourage you to explore them, but as theories for now.
Understood, Commander. Thank you, Exio.
Enjoy your time.
You too.
Are you going to the hockey game?
I'm not going to the hockey game. I don't think I would enjoy
I don't
it.
think, no. I was going to heavily discourage it if you said
Yeah,
yes.
it seems very violent.
Incredibly.
Yeah,
And
I get
also-
squeamish.
I don't imagine the food is up to your particular palate.
Ooh, but the Starbase has a lot of interesting options. Eh? Can I tempt you with some memories?
If you start collecting them, absolutely.
We'll see what I can do.
Great. I'm going to tuck that bad boy somewhere on my not pocketed person.
I mean, it's not. Once you were given the data read on like an external,
can I just like zoom it into my code for later?
literally with that ring in place.
Yeah.
There's no reason in the world why, if coming across another hologram, you can simply upload it.
That's true, because
as
normally
an inventory item.
Normally,
you know what I mean?
Coded onto an actual physical thing rather
Yes.
than a holo. That's great. Great.
Yeah.
I zoom it into me.
Get in my belly. All right, so you basically absorb this programming into the ring for use later. Hi, Joey. And this program that Tech has given you, you can actually incorporate into the ring matrix itself. So you can carry this around. It is essentially like being given an inventory item, a holographic inventory item, which you can access when you want later.
Dope.
Yeah.
That's gonna open a fun can of worms for later. I want so many, just like
you're like, I'm just gonna fill my pocket with holographic geese.
Dude.
I'm just gonna get a flock of these motherfuckers and put them in.
Tech,
Mother flockers. Thank you.
Whoosh out of me.
Oh, wow.
Throw over your arms like the Prince video and Doves Cry. And like, yeah, except for their geese. All right. So we're at that stage now, the crossroads moment where everyone has gathered and disembarked from the USS Ross. Who would like to do what? You now have free reign until 0800 hours tomorrow. So right now, all of you can engage at any level you want. You can head to Earth. You can check out the Starbase if you have an objective that you'd like to achieve before tomorrow morning at 0800 hours. I will tell you, Tech, you do have one particular Tellarite that's already blowing up your communicator, wanting to get a piece of your time.
He can't wait, huh?
No, he's kind of asking for it right now. Apparently got the message that he could meet you tomorrow at 0800, but he doesn't seem to be very satisfied with that. So
there's a scheduled meeting and everything.
I know.
Okay, so looking over all of my communications, he sort of glances over and taps on his badge. Chief Tech to Captain Saul.
This is Captain Saul.
Captain, I know that we just disembarked, but Dr. DeBletch Maroney wants to speak with me, and I know it's going to be in protest to some of these things that we want to add to the Ross, and
interference incoming on my way.
Thank you, Azri.
I quickly, I think before I parse that is the sentence that just happened,
yeah.
I'm already putting my hand out to Commander Exio saying, you find a place for us maybe to get something to eat before the opera? I have to go do this. We'll rendezvous?
Good luck. This is 2 meetings in a row with Mulroney.
You know, if I can survive wartime intelligence, I might yet make it through this.
One can only hope. Spaghetti?
Or I'll die gloriously. Oh, spaghetti sounds lovely. Yes, perfect.
Don't die before then. Noodles.
Flitter
away!
Right.
I'm gonna go back up my engineer.
Okay. Do you agree to? Okay, so what are you guys agreeing to meet DeBlutch?
Yeah. Wherever he wants, he can set whatever.
All right, 1 second. I'm just going to cross-reference to make sure I get this right. Yep. Y'all are going to meet at Club 47.
Oh, ooh, okay. I see your
Club
number.
47 is located here on Starbase One.
Mm-hmm.
If y'all aren't familiar with it, I would remind you that even though, yes, it makes an appearance in Star Trek Online, it is also where we held one of our final scenes in Shielded Tomorrow. When everyone reunited. So Club 47 right now is always, because it is on the 24-hour clock, it is always available to people who want to dance their hearts out, but also have dinner or who want to just show up and socialize. DeBlutch agrees to meet you at Club 47. When you show up, the holographic server at the front nods to all of you and says, you are Chief Tech. Is that correct?
That is correct, of the USS Rock.
Sir. Welcome. There is a Tellarite named Dr. DeBlutch Maroney who has requested that I send you to his table once you arrive. Hello.
He requested that, huh?
You must be Captain Azari Saul as you approach Captain Saul.
Well recognized.
Please follow me. I will show you to the table. You're led past the dance floor.
I'll go.
As you're led past the main dance floor, it is a rave, kind of just like everyone dancing, everyone having a good time. You see cadets are out on the dance floor, probably dancing their hearts out before their graduation ceremonies or their first training cruises. There are species from all across the Federation, a couple of senior officers that are dancing on the floor right now. This is a place where a lot of officers like to unwind. But you're taken to the officers' lounge, which is one floor up. And it's a lot quieter up here, where there's dinner tables and dining and servers moving about with drinks. You were led to a table where you see the Tellarite with a stack of data pads in front of him. He's in a full white engineer's uniform as somebody who is a ship designer. So he looks more like he's wearing a business-style Federation suit. And when he sees you all approaching, the Tellarite sees you and goes, ho, 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 and he stands up as he sees the two of you approach, and he throws his arms open and grabs your hand before you have a chance to do anything with it. And shakes your hand and goes, how are you, boy? How are you?
I'm not a boy. I am the chief engineer.
Good. And how are you, Captain Saul?
Hard at work ruining your ship, of course.
Excellent, yes. Now, sit down. I have been trying to reach you because I made some last-minute requests that Starfleet is stonewalling me on. And,
yes,
I can get your authorization. We can move forward with this right away.
I'm going to stop you right there, Doctor. I need you to know that there are channels of communication that you can go through. And if you cannot reach me through those channels, you do not use your personal connection with me to offer your agenda. Is that clear?
I outrank you, son.
Noted.
That's why I'm here.
Here's what I've got. What'd you say?
That's why I'm here.
Oh, it's a bonus that you're here, Captain, because what I've got to tell you is going to make you a very happy Orion. You see him press a couple of buttons on the data pad, and he says, look at that, and say, thank you, Dr. DeBlutch. Hands you both 2 data pads. You see schematics of USS Ross, and you see, as you're handed this, an animation begins to play immediately, where you see an EPS network upgrade being installed on the Ross, where it shows center points and distribution networks that are being added. And he says, I solved the EPS problems for the USS Ross, for both of the warp cores. No more maintenance on those damn conduits.
How do you get them to work in tandem?
Well, let's just say the Ross left space dock a little bit before she was 100%, and I think we remember having that conversation. However, wasn't a problem. She had a good crew, so no one was worried about that, as they shouldn't have been, as we have seen. And he slaps the table and says, but in the meantime, I put my heads together. I'm not about to let the Ross just fly out incomplete, and we spent the past 6 months trying to figure out how to get that electroplasmic distribution network to start functioning the way it should when it's that much antimatter power running through her system. So, that's my solution right there. Read it and weep. That right there is a brand new circulatory system for the USS Ross. Completely solves the issues with the EPS conduits. Now, there is a trade-off, however.
I knew it.
There's always going to be a trade-off, son. Every time you add something new. I mean, the Ross is packed full of technology. She's bursting at the seams at this point. The fact, Captain, if I may be so bold, that you managed to convince Starfleet to put a new skin on her is beyond me. I don't even know how you can fit any more systems on board that ship, but I guess hull plating doesn't technically count, so well done. But with this system in place, that secondary warp core is not just going to be a hood on it anymore. You're going to get the full use of regenerative power systems out of that secondary warp core the way she was meant to have. Here's the trade-off, though. He leans in close and looks very serious and says, the trade-off is, anytime you divert all power to a single system, you risk blowing up that system. And I don't mean blowing up like ship-wide destruction, anything like that, but you might have a burnout. So for example, divert all power to phasers. Aye, Captain. Oops, phasers aren't working anymore. Require 6 hours repair. It's a risk. So you got to be careful how much power you're feeding into the Ross, because even though her warp core and her EPS conduits are the rest of her is still yesterday's technology. So, balance that out. You got a hell of a circulatory system now. Lots of power distribution.
Yeah, I gotta hand it to you. This is genius. All right, real talk. You know how we've been getting around this? I didn't want to admit this to you. We've been dancing. That's the real trade-off. They're not going to be dancing anymore. We won't need it.
You've been dancing? You've been having your work shift crews dance?
It's a surprising morale booster.
They've really gotten into the swing of things.
Would it blow your mind if I told you that's what I had my crews doing?
No way.
Yes.
You had them foxtrotting all over your engine room?
Yes.
What?
I'm not kidding.
Something about keeping everybody in sync.
You know, Tech, we should have a dance. Like a dance-off or something. We should do something like that while you're in dock.
Floor's right there.
Engineering
At Club
dance off.
47. At Club 47.
I'm so in.
I'm
going to flag someone down.
Okay.
I want to make arrangements because I have 4 pips and no sense of responsibility.
You're like, waiter, get me Starfleet command.
I want spotlight. I want them now. If this does not look like something out of a movie musical in 4 minutes.
So yes, essentially what this means is moving forward, the USS Ross has always had the trait that at any moment I could spin threat to cause her power systems to fluctuate and fail. Okay, the trade-off now is the only time her power systems will fluctuate is if power is having to be diverted to a specific single system.
Okay.
Which means
she's literally OP.
Yes, she is more stabilized right now. But it basically means if you divert all power to phasers, you run a risk of basically becoming like a giant gun in space for a split second before you lose all weapons, phaser weapons for a while. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
If you divert all power to engines and they blow, the Ross is going to require repair. It's one of these things where it runs the risk of being an all or nothing situation where if you divert power to a single system, you run the risk of burning the system out. Otherwise,
overclock. Yeah.
Yeah. That means that what this means ultimately, though, is the parameters in which I can spin threat to throw a detriment at you guys have gotten smaller. So the Ross has been upgraded again.
I appreciate it.
That's the new trait that's going to replace the old one. I can only spin threat to cause a complication on Ross moving forward if power has to be diverted in any specific way. And we can go into the details of what that means. That doesn't mean feeding power into a system from the warp core or anything like that. Like if you're putting power into the shields, that doesn't count.
Right.
Yeah.
I get it.
Okay. So, yeah, Captain, you both show up expecting DeBlutch to be like, what the hell have you been doing to my ship? And instead what you get is this big upgrade that is going to increase the viability of the Ross. There is one downside. that he mentions now that the dance talk comes to an end, and he says, "The reason why I needed to get this on your desk as quickly as possible is because this is not a simple job. We're literally crawling into the guts of the Ross and enhancing the EPS conduits. Think of it like going into a body and replacing capillaries. So it's not going to be easy, which means I need to do this while they're working on the Ross's hull. Otherwise, I miss my window of opportunity. I need Azarisol's authorization, because now that you're a flagship, it means you actually get to make the call on what happens to the Ross. Enjoy the power, Captain. Enjoy the power."
I do, and misuse it constantly. So, will this require an extension over what we're doing with the hull plating? How long am I out of commission with my ship wide open to space?
Well, Captain, the Ross is 663 meters, 4,409,558,000 metric tons of starship. That's a lot of skin to put ablative coverings on. Means she's going to require a lot of time. Now, the good news is, did I say billion? I may have meant million. You see, he kind of susses that out in his head for a second. It doesn't matter. The point is, maybe 4 weeks.
On top of the plating?
No. It would have been on top of the plating if I hadn't gotten to you in time. See, they're going to start that upgrade tomorrow. Because they need you all out in your assignment as quickly as possible. If I missed my window to start this tomorrow,
then we'd be looking at an extension, which means that we have to review these EPS conduit plans in detail so that we know them well enough, and I can get my chief engineer to sign off on the authorization. Not that I don't thoroughly trust your engineering, Dr. Moroni, but I would never trust anything on my ship, not for a moment, not for a single second. Trust doesn't make starships fly, as you know all too well.
Yeah.
I will take a look at this, but over initial observation, everything seems to be working perfectly. I mean, I never thought about rerouting it in this way. I can run some trials on the holodeck.
Good. Yeah, do that. You've got 5 hours.
Okay.
If I don't get this submitted to the shipyard in 5 hours, we're gonna miss our window. I've got to staff an entire work crew for the next 4 weeks to get in there. If I'm gonna get the personnel and the time allotments and the authorization and the equipment, if I'm gonna do all of that, I've got 5 hours before that window closes. So, read.
And unfortunately, the first part is going to be taken up by a dance-off. I really do demand this.
Oh, well, we could do that at another time. I mean, this seems pretty substantive, and the entire engineering crew is kind of exhausted at this moment, so I don't think
so it's just the two of you, then?
Oh, no, we need rehearsal!
Hell, I don't. I'm freestyle. You want to do this right now?
Fine.
I'll start looking over the plans. We're not even wasting any time. This is what you brought me for. See, I come with engineering training, so I can look over this too.
All right.
Such foresight, Chief.
Come on, Blue Boy. And he stands
Don't
up.
call me that.
God. I just love the idea of you, Chief Tech, sitting at this table going,
Just the expressionless scream, ah! You pull a full Kevin McAllister at the table.
Yeah. Oh boy.
All right. So it is challenging to look over these schematics when there is an epic battle being waged over the spirit and vitality of the Federation. Everything that the Ross stands for is on the line.
I'm pretty sure this is a roll.
Your Boolean engineer takes to the dance floor. a circle is formed as cadets begin to see these two powerhouses of the Federation centering in Club 47. The music changes. The beat starts dropping. The house is pounding. It's alive. And immediately, you watch this Tellarite use that magnificent jiggle of that great big belly as he pops it out and begins to robot right in front of you with incredible skill. And just moving his arms and legs, he begins to, like, immediately your brain goes to a place of, where did he have time to learn this and build starships? As he begins to immediately break out dance moves from, like, full on, like, body waving onto the floor and spinning around in a half breakdance move to bringing himself back up. Like, the Tellarite begins to cut loose and the two of you begin a dance off.
I will say that as this is happening in front of Tech, he can almost match the stature. He's in his uniform, but he's got a gut as well. And as he's watching all of these fancy moves happen, his dancing was very cultural and ballroomy, and so he starts going through the motions of very stately affairs and turning around and fiddling with the conduits and going over here. And so while he has a larger form, it's very live. And it's interesting to see this body move in that way. That's very graceful. But totally does not match any downbeats or anything that has been dropped.
Yeah, because the Tellarite, on the other hand, is very thunderous as he moves. Lots of stomping and hard, sharp movements with his hips and with his elbows and with his head. Like, he is busting out. The two of you basically form the yin and yang on the dance floor. It is destruction and creation spinning around each other as people watch in awe as the Tellarite shipbuilder and the bullying engineer. And you're just looking over the data pad, Captain, at the surreal sight of two expert dancers totally tearing it up on the dance floor.
Wait, is it being judged by audience applause?
Ooh.
How is it judged?
We should ask the Aux crew.
We could roll it.
You want to roll it?
I'll assist. Let's go.
No assists. No assists.
I'm his command officer. I'm here to back him up.
Yeah. What
All right.
would this even be? Control?
All right, make the roll. Okay, so this is going to be a present. Yeah, I would say this is a control. Technically, this is like control command.
That's what I was thinking, yeah.
Yeah, this is
Not
control
my greatest,
command.
but whatever.
Okay.
Not his either.
2 successes.
The perfect number for the chief engineer of the USS
2
Ross.
successes.
How many?
2.
Ooh,
I goes
it's a
to the
tie.
active, but both of you are active.
I'm be happy with the draw. I think we have created.
Yeah. It's 15 minutes of nonstop, like, and at one point the dance floor starts joining in.
That's a long time.
Dance floor starts to join in. The entire place becomes like just like a ruckus. We'll say it concludes after about 15 minutes of just because it starts off with a free-form duel that becomes like a full-on dance form rave that you and the Tellarite get swept into just the energy of the room, and you forget to stop. After about 15 minutes, the two of you are coming back over to the captain. Just these thick boys have just been working their tails off on the dance floor. They both come back over, and the Tellarite's laughing and goes, "I'm gonna give it to you. I'm gonna give it to you, Tech. I'm gonna give that one to you. You deserve that one. I've never seen ballet happen on the dance floor like that.
You know what?
You deserve that one."
Listen to me, Doctor. You can contact me anytime that you want. You are great.
I mean, I'm great, but that's how I know that you're great. That's how this works. So the full arc of these twos, they're knowing each other has now reached a full circle of like professional frustration, anger, rage, respect, and now, did we just become best friends?
Yeah.
Seems like the two of you are all set here. And I put down the pad and I just sort of tap, tap. I'll leave you to brief my chief on all of the details that are in here and help compile the report so we can make a meaningful decision. But I have a dinner to attend. Well, excuse me.
Thank you so much for coming, Captain. It means a lot to me.
Thanks for running interference, Captain. I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to handle tech.
Well, I'm glad to see that you're up to it. You always were.
Take a breather and go out again.
Yeah, well, I gotta look over this. This is genius. And he picks up the pad again.
Yeah, that. The two of you slide back into the booth, and you head out. Now, you do have some time, so real quick, we're going to go ahead and take this as an opportunity. It's a good stopping point because it's 8:05. So why don't we go ahead and take our 10-minute break, and when we come back, we'll have the second part of essentially what is going to be the prologue to the next tour of duty for the USS Ross before leaving Space Dock.
Who won the hockey game?
I know, we got a hockey game to go to. We have a full inspection of the Ross, and we have a possible encounter with Exio's creator.
Is she going to the opera?
No, but you said you might stop by and talk to her, so...
Yes, but I did say after the opera.
It's after the opera. All right, don't go anywhere. We'll be back in 10 minutes. Welcome back to Clear Skies, everybody. We are at Earth Space Dock right now in the middle of what is going to be the beginning of the second chapter of the life of the USS Ross. Right now, we left off at a really fun moment where we had a dance-off between the bowling and the Tellarite. You know what? I was thinking about this on the break. This is the second time I've created a Tellarite NPC that comes off like a gruff bastard who immediately breaks out some fucking moves.
Yeah, that's true.
You have a type.
Yep, I have a type. I like the old man Tellarite that suddenly just busts it out when it's time to do so. So, we'll go ahead and start things off. I'm going to open the floor here. So we had a couple of events that are now taking place as the crew of the USS Ross reintegrates for what's going to be sort of a long stay on Earth. There's going to be a bit of a time jump, but right now we're focusing on what the crew of the Ross is doing and its first few days back here on Earth after 11 months being away. This is night number 1, and already activities have been planned. The energy of the crew is like, hell yeah, we're back on Earth. Let's go explore San Francisco at night. Let's see the nightlife. Let's go hit it. Let's freaking have some shore leave. Let's head up a bar. Let's go see the opera. Let's do what we got to do. You've already hit up a bar, Captain Sull. You went to Club 47. It totally counts.
Oh yeah, it's the bar I'm objecting to.
Yeah,
You
do
said
not
the
call
shore leave word.
Don't call it shore leave. We're just
Called it shore leave.
We are
No.
at liberty.
Who's getting drunk?
It's the exact same thing. But you know.
All right, so
Who's eating
I'm
an
gonna
egg
go ahead-
live that's actually living? Come on.
I'm
Fess
gonna
up.
go ahead. Who's getting tossed? Vryn fully intends on getting drunk at the hockey game. Let's go ahead and ask this before we get to the hockey game, though. I'd like to know more about the opera that Exio and Sol are going to go check out.
This was on Saul's recommendation. I have consumed a lot of media, but I have not seen it. So this should be interesting.
Okay.
Wait,
You
what is
show up.
Exio wearing?
Oh.
Operas are fancy. Ooh, okay. Hair full slicked back, tight against the head, with like the little, like full like gelled back ducktail back there. And for outfit, I would say full long sleeve, like from almost like cuffing the hand, and all the way down to the floor as well. And it's, let's see, like a deep navy blue, kind of velvety texture. Because it's San Francisco and people get cold, I guess. So I want to look the part.
We do. Sol is wearing a dress uniform, alas.
It's my first opera. I've got to show off.
The beauty of this, by the way, is being that it's Earth
Thanks,
in the 24th century, you get to attend opera in Paris. Because it is literally a transporter beam away. So instead of going to the San Francisco Opera, you're going to the Paris Opera House that has been fully restored and maintained in this century.
It would seem the one close by was sold out.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this is technically close by. It's an easy beam to and beam back to San Francisco off the main pad. But think of it like this. In every city on Earth, there are transporter stations that functions much like old airports used to function, where you can simply step in and enter a destination so that people have meeting points to go to and back from, and people who are living in, say, New York City, who want to spend some time in Honolulu for the night, can beam over there. Man.
Don't make it sad. Don't make it sad. Keep going. Steamroll.
I'm sorry. It's just it's sometimes fantasy in a pandemic environment. Like, damn it. Okay. Anyway, so you can, of course, beam straight to the Paris Opera House to enjoy this. This is a full recreation of the original Paris Opera House that was unfortunately destroyed in World War III. However, it is today the most accurate representation of what the old Paris Opera House used to look like. And so, beaming straight to Paris, France, the two of you find yourselves in front of this grand, stunning, beautiful building. If you all have the opportunity to Google it, I highly recommend it. It will blow your damn mind. And would you like to tell us, Captain Sol, what it is that y'all are seeing?
Oh, yes. We're going to Le Nozze di Figaro, wherein the Count attempts to exercise droit de seigneur on the night before Susanna and Figaro's wedding. And rather than let any such kind of nonsense interfere with such a professional relationship, instead, the servants team up with the scorned Countess Almaviva to ensure that farce ensues.
All right.
That was so many fancy words.
Oh,
this is one of those instances where I hand the narrative over to the player.
It is one of the more comic operas. It is one of the longest ones Mozart wrote, certainly one of the three Da Ponte operas, and based on plays by Beaumarchais. The plays are deeply political. In the opera, it peeks through. But if you're familiar with any kind of Shakespearean style farce, like your Twelfth Nights or anything, Marriage of Figaro feels immediately comfortable in the costume swaps. Do they know that I know that they know that I actually know the truth, and it makes me really bummed about it. I'm trying to profit off of this whole thing. It has one of the most complicated second act finales around, but it hits real good. And
who needs a play about Captain Sol?
It's notable in that perhaps other operas might not have been the most satisfying piece of pacing, perhaps. I mean, they do have to stand there and sing their feelings for quite a long time. But this one is tight, and it's funny. And the Opera Bastille is an incredibly flexible stage, and though some people have opinions about its acoustics, because you're not dealing with the very heavy brass of a later romantic orchestra, you're dealing with this mostly sort of reedy classical era, the balance tends to be very forgiving to the vocalist, and you can hear all of these voices kind of like a dish with simple plating, where it is not the most vocal pyrotechnics in the history of opera, but each note has to be perfect as it navigates the delicate passaggio that doesn't quite fit comfortably for anyone, almost like all of these feelings. Mozart is very wry, but at the end of the day, very heartfelt.
Kelly, the opera
ends
geek,
in
is
what?
going to be so upset they missed this game session tonight.
Clearly, we should have scheduled dinner after so that I could have heard all of these thoughts once I've witnessed this amazing piece of art.
Seriously, it's a very watchable opera. Like, if you want to get in, I strongly recommend this as an intro opera. It's absolutely delightful. There are a bunch of filmed versions. There are a bunch of bangers that you will just get stuck in your head. Nozze di Figaro. Absolutely tops. Sorry, I'm done now.
I love you, Sam. I've tried so many times to have it be in character, and you just keep making like you just
I can't. You got
my
the thing.
fault. I made it about opera. I'm sorry.
You did. I'm so sorry. All right, cool. So, are we in?
Can I assume that Sol knows this much about opera, or because I think it's the Sol thing as well is what I need to know. Did Sol just say all of that to me as Sam?
Based on that they went to high school in San Francisco, I certainly know now there's SF Soda, the School of the Arts. Maybe they went there. I guess they kind of have to have. In a completely different discipline, and then had a friend who is like me and info dumped at them.
But let's also acknowledge that this is Star Trek. And what we have seen time and time and time again is that the human capacity for having multiple expertise at an extraordinary level is always present in all of the characters in Star Trek. And so it's not out of the realm of possibility that Sol has a database of opera in their head, in their mind. I mean, I can only imagine that when Sol came to Earth and started integrating into Starfleet, one of the things that you studied was human culture, and some of the things that maybe have stuck to Sol was opera.
It's a pretty cultured city, and so there are a lot of fun things that you can do while you're cutting class.
So let me ask this though: as you attend this opera, what do you think Exio gets from this? What is the outcome of this opera when you were all leaving? After the intermission and everything is passed, and the people are filtering out and talking, and people are proceeding to their transporter pads to head back to wherever they were coming from, or step out into the streets of Paris, France at night. What is Exio feeling having attended their first live opera?
Well, I would say she's left the stain of cheeks. The tears, whether from crying, from laughing, or crying from just the overwhelmingness that music like that can have on a person, and thinking about, there is something different. There is always something that Exio, when it's felt live, is so much different than understanding it logically, or seeing a recording or a historical document, or the like. You can watch a recording of a concert, but the feeling of being there is so much different. And Exio went from a lab to a ship. She's not left many places. She's gone many places, but they're very contained. There's a reason she likes the outside of the ship. It's more.
You're actually from here, and you haven't spent nearly as much time around Earth.
No. I'm from... I wouldn't even say I was from San Francisco. I'd say I was from the base. And only the base.
Well, maybe you'd like to take in some of our city for a little bit before we head back to the base area.
Yeah, I guess amongst all the crew, I haven't quite gone home yet.
Do you want to get a snack with me?
Yeah. Are you all right?
Yes. Let's go back to San Francisco and get an ice cream or something.
I cover my anxiety with a very large smile.
Yeah, Solo's definitely sending out some body language that's kind of reading a little.
You don't tend to let your anxiety show unless you want someone to see it. So let's go get that ice cream, and then you tell me what's wrong. Okay?
Come on.
As you're headed towards the transporter pad, just as a quick descriptor of the environment, as you're stepping out of the Opera House, it is worth noting that the office of the presidents of the United Federation of Planets is actually located in Paris. So as you were all moving out, it is not uncommon to see dignitaries and ambassadors and Starfleet personnel moving throughout the arts districts here, where the Paris Opera House is located. You move amongst a few of the officers and step onto the transporter pad. There's a hum and a glow as you are all immediately transported back to San Francisco. As you leave the transport facility, you are walking down the streets of San Francisco. One of the things that you notice, Exio, as y'all are walking through these streets, first of all, San Francisco, 24th century San Francisco is a beautiful city. It is, if you have had a chance to see Star Trek Picard yet, I highly recommend it because it gives you a wonderful glimpse at what Earth actually freaking looks like to people who live in like apartment buildings on Earth. It's really exciting to see that expansion of the Star Trek universe. What's every day look like for somebody who just lives in the city and Earth? In this regard, the edges of San Francisco are beautiful and vibrant. Lots of night colors. It has all of the glow and ambience of, say, like that. I would say a certain futuristic Los Angeles. It has all that sort of ambient glow of all the technologies and things that are happening around the Federation and newscasting, but none of the dystopian atmosphere. Everything is very like safe. As you're moving throughout the streets, you're seeing a lot of activity at night, people like conversing and talking to each other. Restaurants are opening. Everyone, of course, welcome because there's no money involved. There's people that are moving throughout the streets of San Francisco, accessing replicators and whatnot. As you are all moving down one of these streets, Exio, it starts to occur to you that you are nowhere right now. Sol is leading you down one of these long sloping streets on the what would be considered like a distant from downtown San Francisco. Starfleet Command and Starfleet Headquarters is distant. You can see the Golden Gate Bridge from where you are off in the distance and the glow of Alcatraz in the middle of the bay. But you can't actually see anything out where y'all are right now of any particular relevance. Except for what looks like a small research, you do see what looks like a... It's not unusual to see this around Starfleet Command. There's like little hubs of, I would almost say like extended dorm room areas where Starfleet personnel are either working or researching in like labs that are located sort of off campus, as it were. So San Francisco has little specks of Starfleet kind of scattered throughout it. Some of them are designed specifically to monitor weather patterns of the environmental type. Although Starfleet, of course, having to do more with exterior and non-Earth focused sciences and whatnot, it's unusual to see too many of that. my point is that what you see that Sull is leading you to looks like a small scientific facility with the Starfleet logo on it as they are approaching. You see that it looks like a random facility. You can't imagine, like, it's so completely off the beaten path as you're having trouble understanding why Captain Sull is taking you here. Sull, this is the appointment that you made. The person inside is Lieutenant Commander Tis Farah, a Grazerite, spatial anomaly analyst and gravitational archivist. Literally just handles Starfleet's archive of gravitational anomalies. And as you approach, the door opens before you have a chance to do anything else. Shh. And the Grazerite steps out. The lieutenant sees you and says, Captain Sull, this is an honor. When I found out you were making an appointment with me, I'm so sorry, Commander Exio. I am such a tremendous admirer of your work. And of Dr. Redgrave's. Truly a huge advocate, by the way. 100% on board with everything the doctor advocates on Federation News Networks.
You have that gravitational history of Shackleton survey for me, don't
absolutely.
you?
If you want to just step on inside. I'm sorry, I don't actually have a lot of organizational skills. And he leads you into, it looks like a small archive facility. It's literally like a small library where you just see rows and rows and rows of isolinear chips that store data. And as you step inside, Exio, you get the impression, you know how, let me put it this way. When NASA sends up, say, Voyager, for those of you who don't know, we still track Voyager to this day. But the people who are following Voyager and tracking it are literally in their garage right now, just pinging Voyager from time to time to find out where Voyager is at and to find out how far and if they've left the solar system and so on and so forth. It is a small side project that NASA checks in with all the time. This is very similar in that as you're walking into this, essentially it is a really fancy data shed of information where you see a holographic map of the Shackleton Expanse popping up, and you actually see, Exio, your course and all the zigzagging and circling and everything that the Ross reported back. As y'all are stepping in, the lieutenant rubs his hands together and goes, I have been following the Ross ever since she left Space Dock. I have all those readings right here. I'm sad to report that they're not any different from the readings you have, but I'm sure you knew that. But you wanted these, so
I needed the confirmation. Yes, certainly. I'm making lots of I'm so sorry. I forgot I had this. We just pick this up and then we'll go and then we'll talk. Of course, I just needed to make sure that I stopped over here first.
Absolutely. At any time, Captain, you need any sort of confirmation on data that is being archived by Starfleet. I mean, most of this stuff is sent to me to categorize and send back to Starfleet. I don't know why they don't automate this, but it's my honor. I'm not complaining. I love what I do as an archivist.
Redundancies in systems are excellent. You know, archives of all things. It would be terrible to lose through some automated process. So I do appreciate you. I'm glad to have confirmed. Shall we be going?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Goodbye.
Take care.
You wouldn't have any mitten chip, would you?
Are you asking the? Are you asking the lieutenant?
Yes.
What did you ask?
You don't have any mint and chip, do you? It's an ice cream.
I could search the anomaly database. I'm certain there's mint and chip anomalies. I'm certain of it. There's a lot of anomalies in Shackleton, but you were there, so you would know that.
I'm sure there's something near here that we can find. Again, I'm sorry. Just had to pick it up.
Have a good night.
Take care. Thank you again. Have a good evening.
Have a good night. And it was lovely meeting you, Commander.
Lovely to meet you. I'm sure we'll run into each other again.
You guys step out of this facility that's large enough to house a couple of shuttlecraft, but is only being personneled by one Starfleet officer who is archiving data.
Just happened to be in the neighborhood?
Sol starts moving down the street, then starts to look around for where they should head.
I don't move.
Okay, Exio comes to a dead stop.
Lost? Not like you, Captain. To be wandering aimlessly with your head on a swivel.
I assure you I am.
Lost? Now I step forward. What?
Just running errands.
Okay. I loop your arm and agree to walk nowhere.
Yes. So I'm going to go down the street a couple blocks then, and
Am I walking with you?
sorry, narrating.
Oh, I understand. I wasn't sure.
Apologies. And there's a convenience store there on the corner, a couple blocks away. So this might have ice cream. No?
I've always wanted to see one of those candy bars turned into ice creams.
Maybe they have it. Let's find out. Just Exio. Just
Yes.
Just for profession's sake. Follow my lead.
All right.
Okay, go inside.
The front of the store is the entire. This is not built to be a classical looking ice cream store of any kind. It is the entire front wall of the storefront is window, from the ground to the ceiling to the very top. So it's this beautiful, almost crystal-like effect as you step inside. Also, as you step inside, the environmental controls in here immediately smack you, and you find yourself stepping into an ice cream shop that is deliberately, to capture the feel of being in an ice cream shop, being kept at about 65 degrees Fahrenheit. So it's cool the moment you all step inside. Also greeting you are the sounds of a lot of people moving about, some of the replicators that have been fine-tuned to replicate some fine ice cream. But towards the back of the shop, you actually see there is ice cream being made for real with actual materials in real time, making this a very unique and rare shop. You also see lots of holographic displays advertising different types of flavors and like rotating these bowls of ice cream and whatnot that actually going like in full explanations of what the flavors are compared to, where their origins are, like a full-on 24th century gourmet, like nice ice cream shop, right? But what immediately seizes your attention, Exio, is upon walking in, curiously enough, there are two Orions working the shop. One of them seems to be a large male who has his dark, like almost reddish hair pulled back into a very short ponytail. The woman that is manning the shop seems to be the one kind of calling the shots and in charge. She is dressed in very formal, very, very like matronly attire, but it's like real well form-fitting with a high collar. And they both are in the middle of a conversation with what looks like a Vulcan who is nodding slowly as he's getting an explanation as to what cotton candy really is. And as she's in the middle of saying this to the Vulcan, she stops in mid-sentence as the two of you walk in. This woman with that sort of lightish green tint to her skin, it's easy to read the body language, Exio, as you see an immediate emotional shift come over her face. She looks like she's seen a ghost.
Okay.
The man is talking to her and saying her name over and over, and she's not responding. But you hear again and again, Nachi, are you going to help me get the... And he stops in mid-sentence, and he rises to his full height, and you see both of these two are completely speechless at the sight of you and Saul walking in. They freeze at the counter, and the Vulcan raises an eyebrow and says, perhaps the computer would be a better teacher as to what cotton candy tastes like, and sets the bowl down and moves over to one of the computer and begins to deftly call up the information. They don't even notice him leaving the counter as this dark-haired Vulcan moves aside. The two people at the counter say nothing. They just stare agape at Saul.
Isn't this a lovely place? I don't think I've ever seen homemade ice cream. I'm going to pick up like a bottle of spike pear juice and like a bottle of lemonade and something, so you have a drink to go with the ice cream, and go on back and check this whole thing out.
I clock them eyeing us. Well, specifically Azuri, but I just look at them and go, sorry, I'm a bit overdressed. I hope it's not too much. I know, velvet. It's a little sassy. And I'm just sort of playing it off, following Azuri's lead of pretending they're not exactly who they are.
Okay.
So nice to see fellow Orions around town. Hi, I'm Captain Azuri Sull.
They stare at you for a torturously long moment, Azuri. And the woman who's staring at you is completely incapable of holding back the tears that you see welling up in her eyes. And you can feel that shift in pheromones immediately as her chloros just goes bye-bye. She immediately just... You just exhale. She sees the seriousness in your eyes, and the man walks up and squeezes her arm, and she catches herself like she was about to say something out loud and stops herself. And he says, we pride ourselves on making sure that we create things that are beautifully different.
You and my commander here have that in common. We're on Liberty from the USS Ross, the ship I captain. Gonna just pick up some kind of ice cream thing.
She wipes her face and says, Captain.
Mm-hmm. Fine, Captain.
First Orion captain in Starfleet, in fact. So I'm doing I'm doing our people proud.
Yes, you are. You hear him say to you, looking you dead in the eyes, Saul. And you see his jaw clenching as he's just... What can I get you? I'm sure you've never had Orion-made ice cream before, Commander. Perhaps you'd like to try something original and not so laden with the sugar that the Federation is known for constantly giving its citizens. We have a lot of really delightful alternatives that I'm very happy to share with you. And he slides the bowl over the counter, and the woman's unable to speak. She doesn't say anything. She just says, and she reaches down and gets a spoon and places it in the bowl.
I'll take a spoon and take the spoon.
The ice cream, first of all, it is First of all, Sol, you know there's no such thing as Orion ice cream. It's totally a pitch here. However, you've just been served mint and chips. It's a flavor that you've known ever since you first arrived or had contact with humanity, and that you've loved since you were very small, and you had your first bowl of it. And
It was green.
Mm-hmm. And it tastes just like it did when you first had it.
You know, I think I might
gentleman
get to like
who
something
looked
like
over
this.
at you, Exio,
Yeah.
says,
Yeah.
and what can I get you, Commander?
Oh, well, actually, I don't mean to offend you, but I actually don't have taste buds that would be able to appreciate the very fine ice cream I'm sure you make here.
Not a problem. There was one time I tried cooking food for a Gorn. It didn't quite work the way I thought it normally did. Suffice to say, I mean to say that I understand.
Yes.
This looks lovely, though, this place you've got here.
Yeah, I'd actually love to hear more about the flavor of this very, very special Orion ice cream.
Well,
Tell me a little bit about where it came from.
He looks like he's faltering. Like the facade of carrying on like everything is okay is finally wearing him down. And he just exhales for a second and says, it was the favorite flavor of one of the most special people in my life. And I made sure to perfect it in case I was ever fortunate enough to serve it to that person again. Will you excuse me for a moment, please?
Of course.
I just need to,
Yes.
and, he just steps into the back for a moment, and the woman, finally finding her voice, she kind of wipes her eyes a little bit and says, well, that's not the only flavor we have. We have strawberry. We have some of the classic Earth flavors, and we can, of course, create all sorts of flavors that are just completely bizarre. So if you feel like having Trelexian eggs and Nafrikilian milk flavored ice cream, this is the place to do it. Although I would say that even if without taste buds, Nafrikilian milk is actually known to induce vomiting. She kind of giggled. However, I'm told by certain people of Bolian descent that the regurgitation is actually where the pleasure lies in eating it. I'm sorry. This is awful to say to you at the table that people are eating. I must.
No, actually, you're not the first person I've heard that fact from.
Yeah, you're like you. It just occurs to you, Exio. You're like, Tech has told me this shit before. Like,
Maybe we should bring back a pint for the chief.
That's a wonderful idea.
let me just pack that for you. And she starts immediately packing up an entire thing of
Actually,
ice cream.
do you have just sort of small pints of each flavor?
Oh, he would love a sample.
Yeah, a sample pack.
We could.
She laughs and goes,
Take all the time you need. We can wait.
the man comes back and starts immediately helping her create a bunch of samples. And they're putting the ice cream, of course, into these little units, these like slide in that keep it from melting at all. But it does have the adjustment buttons where if you want slightly melted ice cream, so it's nice and soft, you can do it. It's 24th century, man. So like
That's the real technology we needed.
That's all I want.
just slides it in. It also has a refreezer unit, so at any point in time, if you don't want it soft anymore, you just press a button and it solidifies a little bit more. They load
Really
up.
lucky we found this place.
Yeah. They load up about 18 pints into a small container that immediately has like a small repulsor on it that you just activate, so it goes boom, so it's lighter as you carry it if you carry it close to the ground, and they slide that across the counter. So you can hear them speaking to each other in Orion, and you're catching the things that they're whispering to each other. You're catching every phrase. You're catching one begging the other to speak up. You're catching the other one saying, no, you must say nothing. You're catching the desperation and the excitement. Things that really can't be truly communicated, just like you're catching the tone. And when they turn back towards the counter, they are a wreck of two people doing their damnedest to be just as happy to serve ice cream as possible. And they slide this container over to you and the woman says, please come back.
You know, this place is so lovely. I'm sure I shouldn't indulge. But
in Orion, you hear the man say, indulge as a result, please.
You know, we're grounded for quite a few weeks, and we happened to find this shop by accident. It's a wonderful place.
we couldn't possibly.
But we do have busy schedules. Being as important as we are, little Scrit.
It's lovely. Thank you for the ice cream and the drinks.
They simply clutch each other and watch you go. They don't say too much more beyond what they are saying with their eyes as you leave the store. But as you walk out, you know that you're stepping out into the street knowing that they know you're a captain, that you're alive and well, and you're doing what they always prayed that you would be able to do. Now they know. You and Exio walking. Yeah.
Thank you for coming with me. Commander, again, I'm sorry we had to take that detour to grab the data, but we never would have found this place without it.
Forgive my rudeness, Captain. It seems I got a little hangry. They were quite lovely. I'm glad we found that place.
It wasn't a good idea. But it's been a long time since I've had ice cream.
It was well worth it to see the look in their eyes when they got to present their very special Orion ice cream. Come with me. I want to make you run.
Yep.
Just
All
run.
right.
The two of you
Into
dash
the night.
down the streets of San Francisco. It's a sloped hill, so you gain quite a bit of speed. And at a few points, you almost crash into a couple of people passing by who shout at the two of you as you all dash down this hillside with ice cream compensating as it's like hovering above the ground, bouncing in your hand. Before we cut away, I have to ask, are we headed to where I think we're headed next, like you had said, Gina?
No.
Okay.
I think it's not even chickening out. That was too beautiful of an encounter. I want to keep that. I want to keep that memory for as long as I can. Because I don't think I'm going to get the same looks that Azuri just got. It won't be the same.
But on the flip
However
side,
it'll be, you have your crew with you.
Exactly.
Just like
and
I do.
also, Exio,
Yeah.
this right now is what mint chipped ice cream is going to taste like for you.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yes. 100%. And I'm so happy that mint and chip was what I asked about earlier. Another thing I'm keeping. That is, it's one of those moments. Exia was feeling that when a day just happens in such perfect order of seeing so many wonderful people. I got to meet the ambassadors today, got to see the opera for the first time, just when you that perfect moment when you realize you're right on the correct path in life, when everything just starts to feel right. And she's gonna enjoy this day without any possible variables. Dr. Redgraves can wait for me this time.
It is an underlying fact as well that as two people who didn't truly get to experience their own childhoods, run like kids down this slope with ice cream in their hands, get like pushing, like dodging people in like Starfleet regalia and well dressed, like y'all dashing down. And for a moment, the galaxy just bleeds away for a moment. There are no trade negotiations or a crumbling Cardassian government waiting for you on a frontier. There's no questions about what the hell is going on in the Shackleton Expanse or the Keticus or anything else you all have encountered all over the time. There's just, oh my God, are we going to be able to stop our feet when we get to the bottom of this hill?
Yes, impeccably.
And
no, not even slightly.
I was going to say, you're starting to be uncertain. As the laws of physics start to come into play, you're starting to realize you may have overcommitted a little bit.
No, take the ice cream.
I can't slow down, Captain. And the two of you dash down that hillside, which, if this was an episode of Star Trek, would take us to a hard cut of the roar of a crowd at a hockey game after an Andorian shoulder checks the fuck out of a Klingon near the goal, which immediately sparks a feud between the Klingon players who thought that was a little over the top, which immediately leads to high sticking, which causes one of the refs to get shoved aside as the Andorian and the Klingon start fighting for the 5th time this match. And it seems like around all of you in the bleachers, as you're all watching this, it seems like the people surrounding all of you have started placing bets on how many times they should take a drink of their ales or their drinks that they have in their hand every time a fight breaks out. Because Vryn goes, oh, there's another one! Drink! And immediately start pounding back what is probably best characterized as really bad American beer, though for the most part, most manufactured beer of mass quantity is bad. That's American. But I mean, there's some microbreweries out there, and there's some good stuff out there. But for the most part, let's acknowledge that anyway. So anyway, Vryn is drinking what you can only suspect to be really bad beer, and is just like pounding it back, and just, okay, I'm the only one drinking. Why am I the only one drinking? And just kind of like doing this. This means drink. You guys got to drink.
I'm allergic. I'm allergic to alcohol.
Doctor, you're not allergic to alcohol. You're allergic to alcohol. I'm sorry, you're allergic to alcohol. Here, give me your drink. I'll drink it for you. This is for you, McCrell.
Yes.
This is McCrell. Hey! Vryn shouts to the audience around him. He's like, this Cation totally used Borg nanites to save a man's brain. No one hears it as he's shouting it. Prawl goes,
If I had a hypo spray,
Paul just says, I'm off duty right now. And Vryn goes, yeah, you want a beer? And he's like, no, I'm saying I could punch you.
It's all right,
And there's
Prol.
no one to stop me.
It's all right, Prol. I can also punch him.
Do you want to do it together? We can count on 3. And Vryn goes, no, I don't want the punching. No, I don't want that.
As soon as that happens, something happens in the game where you just see McCrell completely switch and be like, "You call that defense? Tuesday puck!
You can actually
hit the plucky! Hit the
McCrell's
plucky!"
hair stands up at the back of her neck as she starts shouting at the hockey game in front of her.
Jane has been participating in this conversation the whole time. You just can't hear her because no one mentioned that there was a lot of ice involved in this game. And so as a Cardassian, she did not dress for the weather and then was forced to buy a bunch of like swag for the teams. And so she's just like layered in like scarves and she's got like a little beanie on. So like she's like in there with McCrell like yelling, but it's all just muffled. So
okay. Shanto is doing her best to keep you warm. She's leaned hard onto you, so like every time you settle back down in the seat and you're done shouting, she's like, okay, and warm break, and like clings onto you. It's warm break.
Okay, this is. I mean, Jane's happy she gets the excuse to cuddle with her girlfriend. Yes.
Shanto seems like she's kind of paying attention. But you've heard her say a couple of times, she's like, I don't understand. There seem to be rules, but no one's following the rules. But that seems to be a part.
Who cares about the rules? They have blades on their feet and staffs in their hand. That's amazing.
She's like, I'm a lawyer. There's rules. She rubs her forehead. She's like, this is stressful. They're punching each other. The
rule is you have to win. That's the only rule that matters in this game. Right? I don't know. I'm still learning too. You hit the puck, it goes back and forth. I see why McCrell really likes this.
At that moment, you can hear McCrell.
McCrell going crazy.
Real quick, did Olin came to the game too? Didn't they? No, they're getting prepared for the big
dinner, fancy schmance. Yeah. Ambassadors be impressed by incredibly impressive.
Yeah. Speaking of which, at that point, Vryn leans over the seats and irritating the hell out of Prawl, who just goes, do you want to move seats? And Vryn goes, no, you're fine. Hey, Jane, we should go, all of us should be on the tour that Olin is going to give.
Yeah, I promised that I would be back for that. Actually,
do we want to leave? Do we want to rebel? Because McCrell looks like she's going to kill someone.
Oh my God! Wait, but how?
Hit the plucky!
You're screaming to kick the puck. Kick the puck! You're like, you just remind me to kick the damn rabbit.
It's the plucky, the little
right,
pluck that goes back. Is that what they call it? I think.
Okay.
We should definitely go back and definitely assist Olin in this tour. I think that they would really appreciate that.
Vryn just goes, yeah, let's do it. We already know the Andorians are going to win. By the way, the Andorians are losing by 3 points, which in hockey is not good. Which is not good, but in hockey in particular, that's not a good.
I love that. I feel like you really have to earn your points. This game. Cardassians would love this game.
Yeah. Everyone stands up and makes towards the transporters as y'all are moving up. Vryn is having a little bit of trouble. Prawl is helping him. And you hear Prawl leans over and whispers to you, McCrell, and she says, I'm gonna need you to give Chops here a hypo spray. I am not gonna be taking care of him tonight.
Like McCrell is all worked up and it's just like, fine. I'll bring him to sick bay and
yeah,
sober
McCrell.
him up a little bit, but And then you just under her breath and it goes, and like just going crazy. Actually, I just slipped into Russian, so whoops. Sorry if anyone spoke Russian. I meant to say more kapla words. On that note, I'll just have a random hypo spray at the ready.
Okay, and it's also worth noting, Macrell, you're like, man, I'm gonna have to drink a lot of tea tonight. This
Oh,
game has gotten you so worked up.
I did not bring my
murderous.
Bad deal on my part. Double dose of tea for Macrell tonight.
You all make your way back to the transporter pads that are for the convenience of people that are coming from long distances, waiting at the front of the stadium. By the way, the Andorian team is the best team in the Federation, so that they're losing by 3 points is a big upset. Klingons are playing hard tonight. Vryn doesn't seem to notice, though, even though his team is losing. As a lot of y'all make the way to the transport.
I have to say the names we thought of, though.
Yeah, tell us the team names. This is great, because we should have...
And I just remembered Jane had a thing we had to do as well.
We need these team jerseys made.
It's the Wild Targs versus the Red Bats.
Red Bats and the Wild Targs. Okay.
Red Bats are an animal on Andor it's an Andorian animal.
Red Bats down 3. What quarter are we in when we leave? Just so I have a sense of how much time they have to make it up.
Second half. So if they're going to come back, they got to start working now. Right.
Yeah, but they can do it. They can pull it off.
Crazier shit has happened, unless you're the Super Bowl last night. Anyway.
Oh my God. Wow, finally.
Unless you're the sports ball last night.
Jane just remembered she had one more thing to do. So I think that as everyone gets to the transporter, she like remembers.
Okay.
Yeah. And is like, you guys go ahead. I need to take care of one more thing.
Anto stops and says, is everything okay? Do you need me to come with you?
No, but actually, I think I should take Ren. You go ahead. Keep Olin. Just give them hell from me.
Okay.
In front of their parents.
It says it's fine. I'll take care of it.
Great. And then Jane's gonna kiss her.
Okay, and then you full on kiss her back, and Vryn just goes, Jane, you should ask her out.
Oh, shh, Ren, I like her. Don't let her know.
As we're leaving, I'm gonna turn to the cat and be like, bring him to sick bay later.
I absolutely will.
Oh my God, I think I love Ren so much.
My favorite himbo.
I just shrieked on mute so hard I think I woke my family.
Prawl is just like, how the hell did you survive the Din Minion War? He just drags Vryn up to the side. Prawl looks genuinely like an old salted soldier who's really pissed off at the rookie for getting too drunk right now. But it's all in like the big brother loving kind of way, but using harsh words kind of way. Do you know what I mean?
I love him.
Vryn is like, I don't even know. And you all head to the transporter pad. A few moments later, laying in the coordinates, using your authorization codes as members of Starfleet to beam back to Starbase One, where you will make a quick hop over to the main transporter pad to beam back onto the Ross. What are you off to do, Lacat?
So she has realized that she never canceled her lease for her apartment in San Francisco.
Okay.
She joined the crew of the Ross very quickly, so she wants to go take care of that real quick.
Okay.
And she needs to get into the apartment to get something. So she's gonna make her way there, and I mean, I think that I actually have not seen this episode of Picard, so I don't know what modern living in San Francisco or any other city is. But I think that like she lives in just like a typical like apartment, as you would see in that sort of setting. And she just wants she wants to go cancel her lease, but she wants to again grab something from the apartment.
Okay.
So I think that she makes her way there, and it's not a great apartment, but it's not bad either. I would say that like it's if San Francisco property like taxes are exactly as they are in, like, you know, currently, then it's probably like a decent apartment compared to most. But yeah, I think that she's gonna she like still has the key card to this place, and I think that she's gonna head up there.
Okay. So yes, this is very similar to, say, the apartment that you might see the character in Star Trek Picard. I can't remember her name. It's not Soji, it's her sister. But in Star Trek Picard, it is a very nice apartment. Complete with a big living room, dining room table. Of course, the kitchen is essentially a replicator, sort of like hub where you can access any drinks you want, and it's any foods you want. It is, we'll say, on like the 11th floor of a skyrise that is usually reserved for. It's near Starfleet Academy for people who are either attending the academy or living off campus or anything like that. Canceling your lease is a simple matter of just bringing that up on a data pad and entering in a few commands and letting them know that you're canceling your lease. I mean, this is where it gets to the like, oh God, if only. I mean, this is Star Trek, 24th century. If you need to move, you beam your stuff to your new house. Ding!
Yeah, I think that I think that there's more of an emotional factor with it than just like I want to complete it on a data pad.
So when you step into your apartment, Lacat, what strikes you is when the lights come on as it recognizes you and it goes, and you see all of your stuff still here, untouched, after a little over a year. The last time you stepped into this apartment was when you were packing your things to go to orientation for the USS Ross. This place is still half packed because if you remember, before that, you were getting ready to turn your badge in and leave Starfleet.
No, actually, I would say that actually so last time I stepped in this apartment was 11 months ago. You wouldn't be able to tell this by looking at it, but the last time someone was in this apartment was about like 9 months ago. And it's about like a 1-bedroom apartment. And the layout of the furniture kind of right now seems a little bit off. It's like it's like some of it is just missing. Like the armchair is still there, but like the couch is gone, like the TV is gone, but the TV stand is still there. And it's like 2 people were living here and like 1 person moved out. And so like all the plants on the windowsill are dead. If there's any
your poor little biological
my poor little plants. But if there's any like digital photo frames, like they've been like turned like face down, I think. There's like on the wall there's like a bunch of like human 1980s like 1990s like memorabilia, and there's one like poster for like one digital poster for Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers, like 1993 greatest hits.
At the GM approves.
GM approved. I mean, it's the album that made her realize what a great name Jane was. And so and so she enters this place and it is seemingly untouched for like 9 months or so. And she just starts like looking under couches, like looking under the table. She is squirreling around for something specific. And when she doesn't find it in the living room, she goes to the bedroom. And you like there's regular bed in this room, and it seems like, you know, you have the 2 end tables, and like her end table is still like has all her stuff on it, and like the other end table has just been like cleared out. And she doesn't pay attention to any of this, but she's looking under the bed and she thinks she's found it, and she like reaches under it and you hear a little squeak. And she pulls out like what looks like an Orwell toy. And that's kind of what she was here for. So taking this, she then is like, okay, this is like, this Brennan an absolute brat without this. And so she is she is ready to go and leave this place, I guess. Yeah, I think that she wants to cancel her release on this data pad, like put in her 30 days or whatever, but she wants to know if the other key card has been turned in. And so that information she can find out through the data pad.
It's been turned in.
It's been turned in. Yeah, that's what she thought. Yeah, I think that she's gonna put in her 30 days for this place.
As an actual property manager, I'm having anxiety right now. It's like, wait, there's too many vacancies. Okay.
There's too many vacancies.
Space is very big and vacant.
Yeah, so she just wants to look at that poster for
It was another life ago. You're standing amongst ghosts right now, Lacat.
Yeah.
It seemed like you went from one person's life that was taken from you to a life you tried to build for yourself that wasn't right for you, to building an actual life for yourself on board the Ross. And coming back here, you haven't felt the light years you've traveled until stepping back into this apartment. And as you stand here in the silence, as you're seeing the shuttles and hover cars go by outside the window here on the 11th floor, and see a lot of the holographic projections and advertisements of upcoming shows and news broadcasts that are being displayed over some of the city skyline. And then, of course, the beautiful... I mean, from here, you can still see peeking over some of the building tops of the spires of futuristic San Francisco, the great Golden Gate Bridge that stands proud next to Starfleet Academy. There's just this sense of, like, melancholy only in that you're sad that you're not sad.
Yeah.
Because you know that something that took place here had meaning. You just weren't around for it. Not really.
Yeah. She keeps thinking of, like, the lyrics, and, like, if anyone was around to, like, hear her say it, I think that you would hear her say, like, repeat the words that from that song. It's like, I'm tired of myself and I'm tired of this town. And it's just what she's thinking of right now. And yeah, that's all she had to do.
And you step out of the room for the last time.
Yeah.
The USS Ross transporter room has already captured the imagination of your father, Olin. Because as you all step off the transporter pad and Chief Singh looks up from the maintenance cycle that he's working on, goes, "Oh, hello. Sorry, I didn't realize we were having people transporting over."
Well, a bit of an impromptu tour, as it were, Chief Singh. These are my parents, Daro and Solar.
You are Ambassador Daro. I am. It is a great honor to meet you, sir. My father is in the diplomatic corps. He's joined because of reading about your exploits. My daughter wishes to go into the diplomatic corps as well. I'm honored to meet you. I don't know why I never made the connection until now. Forgive me, Ambassador Marjanil. I shouldn't be surprised. Your child is quite the extraordinary ambassador, and of course, now that I'm seeing you here in our transporter bay, I'm realizing the reason why we have been so successful in all of our journeys is because we had Marjanil on board.
And Olin just looks deeply uncomfortable with that.
Is your father, who smiles a little bit and says, "Thank you, Chief Singh. Olin is going to be giving us a tour." And Chief Singh says, "Oh, good. Yes, well, this is a good time for it. Right now, the Ross is undergoing maintenance cycles and is mostly empty as people have disembarked. But you should have free reign of all of the authorized areas of the ship, which, fortunately for you, being a Federation ambassador, of course, is every area of the ship. Oh, I'm sorry. One moment. And Chief Singh moves over to the controls and he looks up kind of confused, and you see these multiple columns of light appear on the transporter pad. And appearing on the transporter pad is Dr. McCrell, Yuri Prawl, Jane Lacat, who caught up and has beamed on board, Asmi Chanto, and a very excited Vren, who goes, "We made it!" When you all
Yes.
real quick, Tech, your evening was not just getting that data pad. Weren't you also going to be a part of the festivities?
I think we're gonna look over this. So I was gonna have it as you were touring the Ross. Holodeck 1 is taken over by the Tellarite and the Bolian.
Excellent. Okay, then I'm gonna say Dari is there with you then.
Okay.
'Cause Dari, of course, wanting to like warm up to the Tellarite and trying to get in his good graces, is taking this opportunity, especially because he's in a good mood and she wants to be around. So you see the crowd, Olin, step off the transporter pad, and Prawl immediately steps forward before everybody else can and walks right up to you, Olin, and says, "Friend Strong, I'll handle him. Ambassador, Yuri Prawl. I am Chief of Security and Tactical Officer of the USS Ross. It's a pleasure to meet you." And he looks at Yuri Prawl and says, "Yes, you're the one responsible for keeping Olin safe. For keeping the entire USS Ross safe. Yes, sir. But it is a particular pleasure to be keeping Olin safe as well." There's an awkward moment of silence, and Vren goes, "Why is it quiet? I thought we were diplomats here. Don't we talk? It's talking, right?"
Let's talk on our way to sick bay for I'm going to make you a special cocktail.
Oh,
Yes.
cocktail! And you start leading Vren out. Vren pivots back as he's being dragged out of the transporter room, and he goes, "Ambassador, you got to come to sick bay. It's the best." Prawl just says, "Well, let's avoid sickbay for now. And Ambassador Majanil, if you'd like to start the tour for your parents, and I would be more than happy to accompany if you like."
We're not expecting anyone else, are we? And they kind of look at the transporter pad, and it's a slightly like half fearful but also half expectant sort of look, because the entire command staff is here, but
there's a glow, and the Vorta beams into the. No, I'm sorry.
I will punch you in the face. The entire team of the Wild Targs appear for the after party.
But when they realize nobody else is coming, they're like, okay. They probably had better things to do. And then sort of turn in. If you'll follow me.
And Lacat and Chanto and not McCrell, but Prawl, they all begin to follow you as you step out. As you enter the corridor, you can hear just the last few sentences of Vren on the other end of the corridor entering the turbo lift with McCrell going, "They're going to win. We didn't need to be there." Shh. The door closing.
The hockey game go well?
Oh, we just came from a hockey game. Ah, your dad just kind of nods. Hockey, yes. One of the violent Earth sports. Many of the Earth sports are violent. In truth, Earth shares this with many of the Federation founding worlds.
Yes, indeed. Deltans don't particularly find pleasure in violence unless it's of a certain kind. Anyway, let's continue.
All right. You begin to lead your parents around the ship. It is, again, a testament to the size of the USS Ross. She is essentially Galaxy-class scale, with that slight flavor of Sovereign class added to her saucer section. She is a large girl. She is big ship, big ship. You show your parents the 2 warp cores, the second warp core being one of the things that is one of the more famous things about the USS Ross. You, of course, show the plaque of the USS Ross and give a history over the woman that this ship is named after and her contributions to science, as well as a brief history lesson on Native American culture and the unfortunate history therein leading up to past the 21st century when humanity had to be stupid and finally started pulling its head out of its ass. You also take them to some of the more advanced research labs here on the USS Ross.
They let Jane handle all of that. Like the moment they hit the science section, they just sort of step back and just let Jane go.
Well, Jane, I will give you this. The Arboretum is definitely one of the great places. The promenade deck, obviously one of the things that the Ross is famous for, but it's deck 13. Because you know that your parents, Olin, are, especially your dad, is one of those people who is a full-blown diplomat, but at night they've got Discovery Channel on. You know, parents. So leading them to deck 13 and introducing your Olin's father to Dr. Yada, who is still doing work here in Cetacean Ops, is extraordinary because the holographic technology that's being used on deck 13 is empowering Cetacean Ops in ways that has never happened before. So Dr. Yada is able to take your father through the course that the Ross charted, and is actually able to show holographic images of some of the extraordinary things that you've all discovered. You spend a good hour at just deck 13 as your father talks up Dr. Yada, which makes your mother quite bored after about 30 minutes, which causes her to start talking up Jane and Shanto. And it starts off subtle at first, but then it starts going into when's the wedding?
Oh no.
It starts going into territory of like, and Shanto is just like, but it brings up something. She says something off to the side that you see, and you feel a quick twinge of anxiety inside of Azmi Shanto when she starts bringing up the wedding and like family and all this other thing. You just feel this slight pinch of anxiety, not towards Lacat, but like a deeper fear.
Oh yeah, you're feeling something similar from Lacat as well, just like dread.
And you know, I mean, Olin's not dumb. They look at the Cardassian and they look at the Bajoran and
you
go,
realize that conversation
that's about right. Mama, maybe perhaps we ease off this a little bit, and how about I take you to see the promenade now? Would you like to see the promenade?
Yes, I would love to see the promenade. I hear it has 2 tiers. Is it 2 floors? Is that correct?
It is the most beautiful promenade designed essentially since DS9. In fact, I would dare say ours is better. And there are restaurants, though they're not open right now, though I imagine that as the ship it starts to conclude its repairs, some of them might open. Apparently there's a food war going on at a couple of them that I've been asked to arbitrate that still hasn't quite managed to work itself out. And if you'd like, you're more than welcome to join us. I know that we have one judge already set aside for that, but they need somebody impartial who doesn't know anything about the ship.
You managed to talk your mother away from Shanto and Jane. And you actually managed to get her separated and lead her out the door. Your father says, I'm sorry, Dr. Yada, this has been an extraordinary pleasure. I would love to continue this conversation further. Would you permit me to send you mail? And Doctor says, are you? Of course, please send all of your inquiries straight to me. I would be happy to answer any questions you have. And it just comes off as a series of loud clicks and whistles on the other side of the glass that the universal translator is picking up as this. You can tell Jane, Yada's putting on a face, doesn't know how to talk to this ambassador, and is coming off a little too like, of course! It doesn't necessarily read on the face of a cetacean, but you can hear it in the translator's voice. Like, Yada's overplaying this.
Oh, this is wonderful for Jane to watch, actually. Yeah.
Yada's trying way too hard to be like, but of course, ambassador, come by anytime. Science is at your disposal. As the doctor, as the family leaves, Yada goes, I will never understand the intricacies of air talkers in your language.
Are you sure? You did wonderfully.
I know.
Flawless execution, Dr. Yada.
It was, and yet I don't understand it. I must go back and watch myself on the hollow. I don't know how he bought that. And he pumps his tail and swims over to one of the hollows. And Asmi immediately pulls you aside and just goes,
I don't want to get married yet.
yeah, look.
Yet.
Like, I don't. We
don't have to have this conversation.
Yeah,
right this is not on the table, so we don't.
I'm not drunk enough for this conversation. Not that I should be drunk while having this conversation. I think that's an indicator. No, I'm not drunk. I'm glad we're doing this together, and I want you to know that I would never break up with you over text message.
Okay.
I just want you to know that you're important to me. I want you to know that. I don't want to get married yet, but I want you to know that you're the important enough that I wouldn't just ghost you.
She puts on a mischievous little tight smile. She takes you by the hands and looks you mockingly in the eyes and says, Cat, are you telling me that you love me so much that you would just dump my ass straight to my face?
Abso-fucking-lutely.
I love you too.
No. And Jane just says shut up and kisses her.
And if we panned the camera back, we would see Prawl just standing there going,
He ships it. I know he does.
You're in Cetacean Ops right now.
I love a seaside view.
Prawl steps out and leaves Cetacean Ops. As the two of you just kind of have, as you're about to look at each other again, this whale eye, the cetacean eye, just, okay, I think I have an understanding of exactly how I was able to play that off. You show your parents the promenade deck, and as you're taking them around the promenade deck, it's like you're approaching the end of the tour here. You come to a stop near the water fountain where not too many months ago you were sitting at across the table from a changeling, a Jem'Hadar, and a Vorta, and one of the most uncomfortable and intense rounds of negotiation that an ambassador of any stripe could find themselves in. And your father, it just rings the bell that much louder when your father turns and says, Olin, this is an impressive ship. I am more convinced now than ever that the actions that were taken were the right actions. And your mother immediately says, can we not do this right now? And he raises his hand and says, I think it's important because I can tell it's on their mind.
Perhaps it is foolish of me to say, but the majority of the time I've been on the ship, I have not been sure that I'm supposed to be here. I've had a lot of doubts. things didn't go the way I expected them to. But I know that you believe in me. I don't want to disappoint you. I don't think some of the things that you hoped would happen for me are possible. And I'm sorry that you've worried. And maybe that's why I outed Jane the way that I did. Because at least one of us is doing the things that you hoped I would be able to do. But I have my work. And, I think I can be satisfied with that.
Olin. That warmth, that like Papa Lion energy as he steps forward and gently like takes your shoulders and says, even with my abilities to read your thoughts and emotions, in many ways I have failed you as a father, in that I have never been able to understand or appreciate or help you move past these feelings, that you could in any way be a disappointment to me. You are serving now on the flagship of the Federation for her diplomatic missions. This is not a mistake. Get out of your own way, Olin. You are doing wonderfully. And I am deeply proud of you. Tomorrow, the Federation, in the debrief, is going to request that you attend. I suspect you're going to get a glimpse at what's waiting for you in the Alpha Quadrant. Well, now that you're in the Alpha Quadrant. You're ready for this. I know you are. Everyone knows you are. Now, come. And he starts to pull you in for a hug. And his strong arms gently envelop you into a very firm squeeze. And a few moments pass before you feel your mother joining the hug from behind you. And the two of you are alone on the promenade in the middle of the night with this holographic waterfall cascading behind you. And just over your father's shoulders, Olin, you can see the ornate glass doorways of the Federation seal, and underneath it, the offices of Ambassador Olin Majanil, inscribed onto the glass. As a reminder, almost.
I don't suppose you'd consider staying on the ship for a few weeks, would you?
He pulls back and looks at you and says, I would like that. The three of you sit down, wiping clean an old memory of bitterness at this waterfall. and creating an entirely new one. We're going to wrap with this final scene. The next morning, and everyone is at the briefing. This is in one of the Starfleet main briefing rooms. So if you've seen Star Trek VI, The Undiscovered Country, where Spock gives the briefing about the destruction of Praxis, it's very similar to that, where it's a large crescent-shaped table with a podium at the front, as well as holographic projectors being provided for people so that a big briefing can be given to senior staff's starships of multiple starships or multiple liaisons or any kind of diplomatic corps that's moved in here. In this case, you were surprised to find, as senior staff takes their seats at the table, Vren is just rubbing his head going, leans over to you, Macrell, as you take his seat down and goes, I don't feel a thing. That's amazing, Doctor. That's just amazing. Did you put pork nanites in my brain? I don't feel a thing.
No nanites. But yes, it's a special recipe.
Oh, it's great. It's great. Prawl leans forward and says, if you shout about pork nanites again, though, I will remove your brain. You understand me?
And I don't have the ability to put it back in. That's beyond my capabilities.
Did I do that?
Yes.
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 You see him turn a lighter shade of blue as everyone begins to settle in. Captain, as you're looking across the table, sitting next to Exio, you glance up to some of the admirals that are coming into the room, and you see striding across the room, rather surprised to see Admiral Nollis Ree moving across the room, who you thought was done in Starfleet. But there he is, wearing his bars as he strides across the floor with a few of the other admirals. He steps forward and glances at you for a second, Sol, but doesn't say anything as he opens up a data pad and says, before we begin, I want to welcome back the crew of the USS Ross. After an extraordinary 11th-month journey in the Shackleton Expanse, which has expanded our understanding of spatial anomalies as well as uncovered new life and indeed, yes, new civilizations. I have here a report from Admiral April Hebert detailing the extraordinary advances that we'll be able to make with subspace technologies thanks to a very successful first contact with the Jashashian people. Jadaran is on track currently to submit its application for admission into the United Federation of Planets. This, of course, is pending all of the red tape that comes with such bureaucratic applications, in which, unfortunately, because of the status of the Shackleton Expanse, will also require Romulan approval. This is a unique situation. However, we are confident that the Romulans, if we continue to negotiate on the scale that we did, perhaps if they too were allowed to share in some of the subspace technologies, would be amenable to this. The diplomatic corps is currently discussing the matter right now, and I've put forward a recommendation that should they be considered for entry into the Federation, that we should in fact move forward with the technology share, so that we can continue the bonds of friendship that are slowly beginning to develop in the aftermath of the resolution of tensions in the Shackleton Expanse, also by the USS Ross. Now, before we begin, I'd like to welcome one of our Cardassian liaisons who will be attending the USS Ross on her return to the Alpha Quadrant. A member of the Reunion Project who is here speaking on behalf of Alan Gemor, who is the head of the Cardassian Union Project. For those of you who are not familiar with the Cardassian Union Project, Alan Gemor is a Cardassian who has, for the better part of his life, been pushing for the ousting of military powers and the central role of leadership of Cardassia, and has been attempting to reinstate a civilian-run government of democratically elected representatives on behalf of the Cardassian people. And now that Cardassia is in this state, he is making that push as of right now. Unfortunately, he is not the official duly representative of the Cardassian people, and that we will go into detail more. But first, I'd like to introduce his aide, Ellen Garrick. And he steps aside. Moving past all of you, is a figure in fine clothing of Cardassian wear, of like the browns and greens and golds, moving with a grace, with a small, clever smile on his face as he strides past everyone in the briefing room. He moves right past a few of the officers with a data pad in his hand, and you see him step up to the podium and say, "Thank you, Admiral, for such a lovely introduction. Now, let's talk about saving my people." And that is where we're going to leave tonight's game. Next episode will be the departure of the USS Ross from Earth as we head out to the borders of Federation space at Starbase 621. You guys had an amazing game tonight. All of you had an amazing game tonight. Thank you.
Star Trek on Earth is pretty awesome, it turns out. Wow.
Yeah, it turns out.
Definitely not shore leave. This was something else.
No.
Did the only dice that get rolled tonight were for the dance-off?
Yes. Yes. We had another game
Extreme
session.
punks.
We had another game session where it was like a dice roll.
Yeah.
Yeah, really, really well played, everybody. Fantastic vulnerability and going into character. I love these characters so much. Thank you so much for tonight and for a great episode of Star Trek, y'all. This was really great. To our Ox crew, we love you dearly. Definitely catch us next Monday night as we wrap up our business here on Earth and head off to the USS Ross's new assignment. And before we sign off, I want to wish a very, very happy birthday to Dr. Aaron, who is a good friend of ours, science consultant on Star Trek Discovery, and a fellow Mass Effect fan who I just absolutely adore, and who has, by the way, at one point promised, Dr. Aaron McDonald has promised that they will do a sit-down Q&A with Sam and I at some point on one of our live streams in the morning. So stay tuned for more information about that, because she's great. And she said that once season 3 of Discovery wrapped up, she'd be willing to chat with us. So I'm going to hold her to that. In the meantime, you all, please stay healthy, stay safe, wear your masks. We love you dearly. And hailing frequencies are closed.